Chapter 1681. Jiang Tian's heart skipped a beat. He had mixed feelings. The biggest difference between this clone and the other clones in the world of cultivation was that she didn't know she was a clone. She was more self-aware and wouldn't submit to Zhao Xueqing. However, there was nothing he could do about it. Otherwise, Zhao Xueqing would just be a powerless chess piece in the grand scheme of things and would be at the mercy of others. Hiding the regret in his eyes, Jiang Tian smiled and nodded. "All right, I miss my homeland too." After leaving the sky-swallowing palace, the great Ko dynasty warriors immediately knelt on the ground and said respectfully, "Welcome, Your Majesty." "Congratulations, Your Majesty." Because Jiang Tian's isolation restriction and array were too advanced, they didn't notice anything unusual. They thought that Zhao Xueqing's clone was the real one. "You may rise." Jiang Tian nodded slightly. At this time, Yun Zhongzi stepped forward and said respectfully, "Your Majesty, we've been discussing this recently. In the end, we still think that we can't abandon the ceremony. It's better to hold an ascension ceremony so that everyone can listen to it and establish their authority." But Jiang Tian also had an indifferent attitude as he nodded and said. Everyone was overjoyed. Then they returned to the sky-swallowing palace. Jiang Tian discussed many details with Yun Zhongzi and the others. In the end, Jiang Tian established the new heavenly court with the north capital as the capital and the sky-swallowing palace as the capital. Yun Zhongzi, Niu Duotian, the Fu brothers and other heroes were appointed as divine generals of heaven and earth. The other soul formation overlords were appointed as lords. Long Shengnan of the Hailan world, Wu Shujian, Yao Yuferi of the fertile earth world, and the heroes of the Dragon Gate, Baiming, Penglai, Yingzhou and other worlds flew to the upper worlds and took up important positions. The strict barrier between the upper and lower worlds of the ruins of immortality was completely broken. All the teleportation portals were opened. All the residents of the lower worlds and the natives of the deity ground could enter the ruins of immortality without any conditions and achieve ultimate ascension. When the news spread, all the worlds were shocked. Billions of people were overjoyed. History called it the Great Unification of the Ruins of Immortality. 3 days later, Jiang Tian's ascension as the Celestial Emperor, as well as the coronation ceremony of the new Celestial Court, was held in the northern capital's heaven-devouring palace. Billions of living beings in the various worlds of the ruins of immortality bore witness. The celestial ascension ceremony was held in a simple manner. Jiang Tian preached a sermon during the ceremony, telling the people of the ruins of immortality about what he had seen and heard in the cultivation world. He also started a live broadcast so that both mortals and cultivators could listen. Jiang Tian's words were not fancy, and there was no extravagant extravagance or the phenomenon of golden lotuses bursting forth from the ground. He was simple and unadorned, and everything he spoke of was the truth. However, it was like the voice of the Grand Tao that shook the hearts of all. It was like a Buddha speaking about meditation or an immortal king speaking about scriptures, and it caused the myriad of living beings to be extremely shocked. So, above the soul formation stage, there are void return, Tao reunion, tribulation transcendence, and other supreme realms. That Tao reunion perfected immortal is so powerful. He can crush a star with a finger, use the galaxy as a bathtub and the sun and moon as a pillow. The cultivation arts of the Taichu Emperor are far more powerful than those of the Emperor of the Ruins. Even the sword god's art of the Big Dipper is far inferior. If we become Tao reunion perfected immortals, would we still be afraid of the third planet of the South Gate? We can slap it away with one slap. Many cultivators were astonished, as if the door to a new world had been opened. Then, they finally understood that the solar system and the South Gate galaxy were just a drop in the ocean in the vast universe. And the entire Milky Way in the entire universe was called an abandoned galaxy, the abandoned planet region. The cultivation civilization in the central galaxy of the other planet regions had already reached an unimaginable level, which was far beyond what the ruins of immortality could compare with. There were void return cultivators, Tao reunion cultivators, and some even became deities after the tribulation and reached a higher level of life. When a person's knowledge skyrocketed, their mentality would also change drastically. They would no longer be limited to a corner of a city, a planet, or a world. I finally know that we're just frogs at the bottom of a well. It was the Taichu Emperor who showed us the vastness of the universe and the universe. The empire of the ruins of immortality was too arrogant. They didn't know the greatness of the Taichu Emperor. If they had sincerely submitted to the heavenly the arch, they wouldn't have ended up in such a state. Right, this land originally belonged to the deity land, but the empire of the ruins of immortality took over. We should repent for our sins and the sins of our ancestors. Thank you, His Majesty, for your kindness and magnanimity. You didn't exterminate the wood spirits. We believe that His Majesty will be able to solve the problem of the third planet of the South Gate. That's not a problem at all. Unknowingly, the situation had changed. In the minds of the wood spirits, Jiang Tian had changed from an evil invader and a terrifying fiend to a righteous cultivator, a wise lord and the savior of the South Gate galaxy. Especially after seeing Jiang Tian's handsome face and his close relationship with his wife, many female cultivators and heiresses from the ruins of immortality began to become his fans. Even when Jiang Tian killed them, they were still angry and didn't want to submit to Jiang Tian's power. But at this moment, they had surrendered, because they saw the hope of survival. In the sky-swallowing palace, Jiang Tian sneered when he saw the related memorials. He threw them on the table and said with disdain, "Milk is the mother. Your Majesty, are you really going back to Planet East?" Then Yun Zhongzi, the divine general of Heavenly Crane and the acting Heavenly the Arch, bowed and said reluctantly. Before this, Yun Zhongzi was nothing more than a ruffian in the Jianghu. He lived a precarious life. Even though he was a soul formation cultivator, he was suppressed by the Grand Tao and couldn't resonate, so his power was only comparable to a nascent soul cultivator. More importantly, he knew the truth of history, but there was nothing he could do. In the face of the empire of the ruins of immortality with over 100 divine transformation realm cultivators, his struggle for 1,000 years was like throwing an egg against a rock. His heart had become powerless, helpless, and desperate. His mood was bitter and angry, and he never smiled all year round. And yet, Jiang Tian defeated the dynasty of the ruins of immortality in a short time and changed the world. And he also changed from a bandit hated by everyone to the helmsman of the ruins of immortality. He was below Jiang Tian and above billions of people. His cultivation art was also changed by Jiang Tian. He became a real soul formation cultivator and his lifespan was also extended a lot. Everything that had happened in the past few days made him feel like he was in a dream. All good things must come to an end. Besides, I want to live a peaceful life with my wife and daughter. Jiang Tian patted his shoulder. He had once contributed to the great change of the ancient times by using the Spirit Chi recovery seed to activate the Spirit Chi of planet destruction, so that Earth's Spirit Chi could recover and become a vibrant cultivation planet. He had once announced the cultivation art so that everyone could cultivate. He had planted the foundation for Earth and started another evolution tree of the human civilization. In the future, Earth might become a civilization with both technology and cultivation. His family, friends, disciples and comrades all lived on that blue planet. Jiang Tian had placed too much of his feelings on Earth, and Jiang Tian had poured too much effort into it. Of course, Jiang Tian wanted to go back and have a look. Zhao Xueqing's clone looked at Jiang Tian tenderly and smiled sweetly. He's been fighting for too long. He also needs to rest. Why do I feel that my husband is a bit distant from me? We're not as close as before. Unfortunately, Jiang Tian didn't look back, which made her feel a bit disappointed. Seeing that Jiang Tian had made up his mind, Yun Zhongzi couldn't help but bow to Jiang Tian deeply. With tears in his eyes, he said generously, "In any case, in this old man's mind, you're the real master of the new heavenly court. I'm willing to go through fire and water for you, Your Majesty. I'll follow you until I die." He had a cold, melancholy, and taciturn personality. When he said these words, it was because he was truly moved. Chapter 1682. I'll definitely come to the ruins of deity again. After all, The problem of the third planet in the South Gate hasn't been solved yet. Jiang Tian smiled and said, "So, I'll have to trouble you and your brothers to protect this property for me. I've modified the ancient cultivation arts in the deity ground for you, as well as the other ones I've taught you. You must work hard and don't slack off for even a day." "We understand." Yun Zhongzi and the others nodded heavily. "You don't understand." Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. His voice gradually became stern as he said, "The most important thing for a cultivation civilization is not the empire but the inheritance of absolute arts, the development of new cultivation techniques, and the flourishing of talents. If you have the strength of the void return level, you can break the stars with a flick of your finger and travel across the universe. Can't you find other ruins of deity without this one?" Yun Zhongzi and the others shuddered, and Bai Mushua's eyes shone brightly. Those who are determined to climb the long path of deity need to understand one thing. Apart from the ultimate arts and companions that can help each other, everything else is just a passing cloud. If you're too weak, you can lose them at any time. If you're strong enough, you can get them at any time. The authority of the imperial dynasty, the reverence of tens of thousands of people, hordes of servants, disciples as numerous as the clouds. You possess paradises and paradises, reside in holy lands of cultivation, and even control vast territories and stellar regions. You can enjoy it but don't indulge in it and don't be tied down. If you have a divine art with those things, do you have to be afraid that you won't be able to get them back one day? They're just worldly possessions. Don't be discouraged by them. You can get whatever you want and lose it whenever you want. That's how you'll be free and unfettered." Jiang Tian's words enlightened all of them, and coupled with the experiences Jiang Tian had told them about in the outer realm, it even caused their hearts to be greatly shocked and moved. That's right. In order to avoid the great calamity of the primordial age, our ancestors fought hard and fought in the Sea of Stars. We only mourned for our homeland and were content with robbing and harassing the dynasty. But we didn't know that if we had modified our cultivation arts 100 years earlier, wouldn't we have been able to defeat the Ruins Emperor's descendants? Niu Duotian lamented. "Indeed. We can definitely conquer the Sea of Stars and find a way to reach the central galaxy for ultimate ascension. Isn't it easy to take back the worlds in the ruins of immortality?" Bai Mushua's beautiful eyes shone brightly as her blood boiled and her heart thumped wildly. Our original goal was wrong. He shouldn't keep staring at a place like the ruins of immortality. He should go outside to find a wife. Fu Heishui and Fu Heishui looked at each other speechlessly. "Like I said before, we are going to conquer the Sea of Stars." In the crowd, Bai Zhe said with a Chunibu face. "Our vision was too narrow in the end." Everyone sighed inwardly. In the end, many people arrived at the Dragon Gate world to see them off. Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing stepped into the rising sun city. There were also more than a dozen starships following them. These starships were piloted by more than a dozen corps generals carefully selected by Jiang Tian. The rest remained in the ruins of immortality, cooperating with the new heavenly court to suppress the various lands. Moreover, the large black dog also followed Jiang Tian back. As far as it could remember, it grew up on Earth and had deep feelings for Earth. It also missed its playmates at Tianqing School. However, Bai Zhe didn't return to the stellar sky domain. He preferred the vast ruins of immortality and was also waiting for Jiang Tian to come back quickly and take him to the central galaxy. As for Zhang Qianlei, during this period of time in the Dragon Gate world, he had made rapid breakthroughs and cultivated thunder element cultivation techniques. He had already reached the nascent soul realm. However, this time, he didn't even come to see Jiang Tian off. Instead, he found a place where thunder rumbled in the fallen immortal sea domain and cultivated silently, trying to break through to the nascent soul realm as soon as possible. This time, when Jiang Tian went to the ruins of immortality, his cultivation level was too low and he was almost of no help. This was something that he hated the most. He didn't have any children and had no worries. He just wanted to improve his cultivation level. "Let's go." In the end, Jiang Tian raised his hand again and glanced at the vast world of the ruins of immortality, the many stars and the third star of the South Gate that was already visible. At that moment, under Bai Mushue's complicated eyes, Long Xingnan's resentful and sentimental gaze, and Ao Jiao and Princess Li Qi's tears, the giant portal teleport array shone brightly and released terrifying space waves. Then, Jiang Tian disappeared with the never-setting sun. Yun Zhongzi watched the never-setting sun disappear into the teleport array and then bowed deeply in that direction. Emperor Jiangtun, rest in peace. Behind him, countless members of the new heavenly courts and natives of the deity ground knelt down silently, with only tears running down their faces. They all knew that the natives of the deity ground were able to stand up and become the masters of this land under the leadership of Jiang Tian. In the lonely universe under the dim starry sky, there was no trace of human life. There was a special planet in the solar system. As far as the eye could see, the Earth seemed to be the product of a magma eruption. It was reddish-brown, cold and bleak, distant and dead, without a trace of life. There was a desolate mountain range that rose from the ground, without any vegetation or animals, like a gravestone that no one cared about. The void trembled as a storm descended from the sky, blowing up pebbles and sand. A massive starship descended from the sky like a meteor, as if it was a continent that had sunk. The heavy cabin door that was full of metal smell and engraved with many array patterns opened. An extremely fat big black dog whose belly was almost touching the ground jumped out. Then, a man and a woman walked out side by side. "Something's wrong, master. Is Star World in trouble?" The big black dog's eyes almost popped out as he shouted in shock. The stellar sky world was supposed to be filled with life and spiritual energy. Although the spirit chi wasn't as good as in the ruins of immortality, it was still a dimensional world and an ancient ruin. But now, there wasn't even any vegetation, let alone spirit chi. "No, you're wrong. This is not the stellar sky domain, but Mars." Zhao Xueqing's clone looked at the sun that seemed much smaller under the dark sky and said softly. In her memory, she had fought here before and was very familiar with it. However, she was also very puzzled. The teleportation array was clearly located in the stellar sky domain. How did it end up on Mars? Earth has been expanding. Even with the influx of spirit chi from the third planet of the southern gate and the release of spirit chi from the destruction of the planet, the ancient ruins emerged from the folded space and fell on Earth. This caused the rapid change in Earth's weight and even the gravitational field of the entire solar system. Jiang Tian's eyes were deep as he said in a low voice, "So, the positions of many planets in the solar system are different from before. The original teleportation array's location has changed. Then what should we do? Are there enough golden cores to eat?" The big black dog looked at the blue planet in the depths of the universe and said worriedly, "You don't have to worry about that." Zhao Xueqing's clone smiled sweetly and said softly, "Our unsetting sun has enough energy crystals. It can cross the entire solar system 100 times. That's good." The big black dog was relieved. Jiang Tian's face became gloomy as he said softly, "Qingya, you said that the people of Earth fought a great battle here to resist the expedition army of Tian Mu Divine General. Is there a hero's tomb or monument? I want to pay my respects." "Yes, husband, you're right. They sacrificed their lives to protect their home. We can't forget it." Zhao Xueqing took out a map and identified the location. "There seems to be life." Jiang Tian's divine senses moved, and his face changed slightly. His eyes shone as he looked into the distance. Chapter 1683. It's the battleship of the Black Eagle Federation. Almost at the same time, Zhao Xueqing's doppelganger also noticed the anomaly. Under the dim light of the tiny sun, the remains of a huge battleship lay in the basin 100 miles ahead. Half of the battleship had crashed into the ground and was covered in dust and gravel. The exposed part was covered in a layer of frost, giving off a cold and gloomy feeling. The density of the atmosphere of Mars was only 1% of that of Earth. The atmosphere was extremely thin, so the temperature was extremely low. It was more than -50 degrees all year round. Although the recovery of spirit chi had caused its orbit to shrink and it was closer to the sun, and even the tide of Earth's spirit chi had spread to this place, the temperature here was still more than 30 degrees below zero. Here, only cultivators above the golden core stage could rely on the constant nourishment provided by the golden core and move freely without any protective equipment. Even the Qi refinement stage cultivators could not withstand the low pressure, lack of oxygen, and harsh cold environment. The battleship was 100 meters long and was made of special space alloys. It shone with golden light like a disk and had many huge launch holes. There was also an energy cabin at the bottom of the battleship. Some parts of the battleship were painted with stars and stripes and pictures of the mythological alliance, indicating its origin. This should be the work of Zhang Chenzhen. Jiang Tian's pupils shrank. He found that the energy cabin was made of two parts. One was a controllable nuclear fusion cabin, and the other was a crystal reactor. Technology and cultivation were perfectly integrated. According to Qinga, in the years after Jiang Tian left, Zhang Chenzhen had recovered a lot of memories of Zhuofeng, the king of refining, and his refining skills had improved. The refining style of this spaceship was very close to the refining level of the Star Glory Federation. How is this possible? The technology of the Black Eagle Federation has always been the best in the world. Especially after the establishment of the Mythological Alliance and the cooperation with the Sidonia Academy of Sciences, the technology level of the Black Eagle Federation has increased. How can it crash? Zhao Xueqing's pupils shrank. She had a bad premonition and quickly flew over. The war against the expedition of the ruins of immortality had ended a long time ago. Before Zhao Xueqing left for the ruins of immortality, the battlefield on Mars was very dangerous because of the debris of many battleships and weapons, as well as the fluctuations of laws. Therefore, the battleships of many forces would not descend casually. Why would the battleship of the Black Eagle Federation appear here? And with such an abnormal crash, it was very likely that it had been attacked. But who was the attacker? Could it be that something had happened on Earth? Soon, the group flew over and entered the ship. Inside the cockpit, they saw several dead soldiers. What was strange was that they did not have any wounds. They even had feeble heartbeats and life waves, but they could not move at all. Strictly speaking, they were already dead. Strange. How could this be? The large black dog was dumbfounded. Soul devouring, to put it simply, is the ability to devour souls and other mental powers. This ability should belong to the superbrain. Jiang Tian's expression changed slightly. The superbrain clan. It had reappeared. Jiang Tian had a deep understanding of this race based on the information provided by Canes. They were probably the star races that had entered the ancient Earth before the battle of the deities. They fed on divine souls and had extremely powerful soul energy. They used to be the gods worshipped by the Mayans and left behind a brilliant prehistoric civilization. However, with the arrival of planet destruction, the outbreak of the Battle of the Fallen Immortals, the Twilight of the Gods, and the opening of the deity land, the superbrain race gradually declined. The once prosperous Mayan civilization also completely disappeared from Earth, leaving behind only some desolate temples and ruins. When the deity trap array was activated, the spirit Qi of the ancient Earth gradually disappeared. The superbrain clan also entered a state of hibernation and relied on the crystal head to survive. But a centipede dies but does not fall down. After entering the modern era, the superbrain clan once relied on the mental power of their believers to temporarily revive and deeply influenced the technological progress of the Black Eagle Federation. With the Heavenly Gods group as the platform and the large consortia of the Federation as their henchmen, they formed the Universe Shield and tried to kill Jiang Tian. The most dangerous battle that Jiang Tian had experienced on Earth was the battle with the Universe Shield and the superbrain behind them. After that battle, Jiang Tian had thought that the superbrain clan had been wiped out. He did not expect that they would reappear again. Did they revive with the help of the revival of Spirit Qi, or did their distant relatives re-enter Earth to fight for the deity's opportunity? Zhao Xueqing's pretty face turned pale and showed a touch of worry. The superbrains that Jiang Tian had killed in the past were just a few of them. They were not strong, and according to what Jiang Tian said later, they were just babies. They had not developed into even more terrifying superbodies. After all, before the revival of Spirit Qi, All the descendants of the alien races in the universe were struggling to survive. But after the revival of spirit chi, they could completely sublimate, grow and evolve rapidly, and reach the peak state. If their distant relatives in the depths of the universe had arrived on Earth, it would be even more terrifying. Who knew how powerful they were? Don't panic. Let's see what else is going on. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was much calmer. The superbrains had shot down the Black Eagle Federation's spaceship, which at least meant that the Black Eagle Federation was not controlled by them. The couple flew into the sky with the big black dog. Soon they found more spaceship wreckage. Huaxia's spaceship. Zhao Xueqing was shocked. Several hundred li away, on the ground, there was a battleship with the words Myth Alliance, Heavenly Clear Sect, and Huaxia Guardians Alliance painted on it. Half of the battleship's body had already been destroyed, and it was filled with scorching flames, piercing light rays, and slashing marks from blades and swords. Clearly, it had gone through a bitter battle. He died in battle. Zhao Xueqing exclaimed. Ing Su was wearing bronze armor and holding a blood-stained halberd on the ground. His body was covered in dust, and his qi and blood were dried up. He was like a mummy, but his eyes were still wide open and his anger was shooting out. He stood there like a monument. Ing Su was arrogant and unruly. He was talented and was once the leader of the reclusive royalty in the Middle Ages. However, after experiencing the war with the Gate of Heaven and the descendants of the Preaching Dynasty, he was deeply impressed by Jiang Tian. He became a disciple of the Tianqing school and became the third generation's first disciple under Jiang Tian's command. In particular, under the coercion of the Preaching Dynasty, the reclusive royalty like Zhu Shaoqun and Li Guangkol were conservative and conservative. They insisted that the immortal trap array should not be opened, or they chose to be fence-sitters and rely on the Preaching Dynasty, which seemed to have the upper hand in the immortal trap array and was stronger. However, only he, Lady Wu, and a few other descendants of the royal family firmly supported Jiang Tian. Therefore, Jiang Tian also thought highly of him and personally guided him in his cultivation. It could be said that Ing Su was the most outstanding representative of the third generation of disciples. After the spirit qi recovery, he quickly reached the Golden Core realm and led the Huaxia Guardians Alliance. In the previous battle against the expedition army of the Tianmu Divine General, he was in charge of the rear, which made Zhao Xueqing feel very relieved. His divine soul wasn't sucked away, but his golden core and blood qi were taken away. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. Jiang Tianxin waved his hand, and the armor shattered into pieces. A horrifying wound appeared on his chest. What made Jiang Tian vigilant was that even though a long time had passed, there were still very strong fluctuations of laws left. This meant that the one who killed Ing Su should be a nascent soul realm expert, and the quality of his nascent soul was not low. It's a nascent soul realm demon. Zhao Xueqing frowned. The bronze halberd was stained with blood. Even though a long time had passed, it still emitted a terrifying and brutal aura that belonged to an old monster of the demon race. She felt uneasy. None of the invaders from the ruins of immortality led by Tianmu were demons. Besides, Zhao Xueqing was sure that all the invaders from the ruins of immortality scattered throughout the Milky Way had been killed or suppressed by her. This meant that after she left, a new force had appeared and started a war with Earth. There were demons and superbrain men. Chapter 1684. The situation may be worse than we thought. It's very likely that the flames of war have already spread to Earth. For the first time, a worried expression appeared on Jiang Tian's face, and his heart became more and more uneasy. Jiang Tian couldn't help but worry. He couldn't stay out of it. After all, no matter how detached he was still a human. After all, Earth was his homeland, and the recovery of spiritual qi was the result of his efforts. His daughter, parents, and relatives were all on Earth. Master, there's something else here. The big black dog's sorrowful roar came from the distance. It had a funny personality, and at this time, its voice was almost crying. It could be seen how sad it was. A tall stone tablet stood on the empty ground. It was carved out of black basalt, rough and simple. Under the dim light of the sky, It was dull and dim. There were densely engraved words on it, English, Chinese, Korean, and even other small languages. 2016 AD, 3 months after the invaders from the ruins of immortality were repelled, the stars changed dramatically, and the invaders from other realms came again. The fate of Earth was in danger. The Myth Alliance led thousands of sects and races to fight together. We cultivators should remember the teachings of Senior Tai Chu. We should fight to protect our homeland and fight for the weak. We should generously go to the national disaster and treat death as home. We will die 100 times without regret. However, the invaders were from the Star Demon clan. They had a special bloodline and extraordinary talent. Their golden core and nascent soul levels were far higher than ours. Our flying swords, talismans, nuclear explosions, and lasers were no match for the enemy's claws and fangs. We have disgraced our mission and are deeply regretful. Even the bones of the faithful can be buried in the barren mountains. There's no need to die on the battlefield. I only hope that the people who come later will defeat the invaders one day and burn an incense to tell us so that we can rest in peace. Jiang Tian looked at the monument with a heavy heart. On this land with a radius of 10 miles, the elites of various races from all over the world were buried. There were more than 30,000 people. In fact, this might only be a part of it. It seems that there was more than one wave of invaders when we weren't here. The large black dog's heart was heavy. Zhao Xueqing felt as if a huge stone was pressing down on her heart. Tears welled up in her beautiful eyes as she tightly held Jiang Tian's big hand. Her voice trembled as she said, "Hubby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have impulsively gone to the ruins of immortality to find you. If I had been here, these people might not have died. It's not your fault. After all, we are not immortals, Buddhas, or gods, who have reached the level of being able to foresee things like gods." Jiang Tian comforted her gently. The recovery of spirit power was a risk for Earth. Once the spirit chi recovered and the immortal trapping formation was removed, it would be equivalent to breaking the peace declaration of the universe. To some extraterrestrial civilizations, Earth would become a threat and a piece of fat meat. All kinds of attacks and invasions would come one after another. It was like a soldier who was originally hiding in the trenches and was afraid of death suddenly jumping out and accepting the tempering of the flames of war, charging through a hail of bullets. However, Earth had no choice but to evolve and sublimate. If they charged, they would still have a chance of survival and victory. Otherwise, they would lose the initiative and sooner or later, their enemies would arrive at their doorstep and annihilate them in the battle of the universe. In the 10,000 years of his previous life, Jiang Tian had seen too many life-sustaining planets destroyed. The universe was too vast and there were too many powerful beings. One had to know that Void Return Saints could destroy life-sustaining planets, Tao Reunion perfected immortals could swallow suns, and Tribulation Transcendence cultivators could hit planets as if they were marbles. If such a mighty being passed by the solar system, Earth would vanish with a casual slap and human civilization would completely disappear from this universe. So, how could he choose to live an ignoble existence and give up self-development and ultimate sublimation just because of fear? It could be said that from the day of the spirit chi recovery, Jiang Tian had been ready to face all kinds of challenges and even pay a tragic sacrifice. Below the enormous monument was a dense area that stretched as far as the eye could see. Under the dim sunlight, in the middle of the wind and dust, it looked lonely, desolate, bleak, and tragic. With tears in her eyes, Zhao Xueqing walked over step by step and looked carefully. Old Man Butcher, from a mountain village in the Ming Dynasty, created his own pig-slaughtering knife technique and reached the Golden Core stage at the end of the Ming Dynasty. Suppressed by the deity Trap Array, he flew up to the sky and slashed at the sky, cutting off both of his arms. He lived on for hundreds of years and was lucky that the deity Trap Array was torn apart by the Tai Chu Alliance Master and the spirit chi recovered. The old man witnessed a brilliant golden age and his cultivation reached the limit. When the extraterrestrial invasion came, he led 300 disciples and attacked here. However, the enemy was too strong and aggressive. He could only sacrifice himself to repay the kindness of the heavens and protect the golden age. I am one of the 9 woodmen of primordial world, a subordinate of the Taichu Alliance Master. Together with 30 disciples, we killed 5 early-stage nascent soul cultivators and 1 mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. In the end, we detonated our nascent souls and severely injured a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator. Wolf King Alexander, under the command of Tianqing School, led the moon-worshipping Wolf Clan and the Grassland Wolf Clan to intercept and kill the extraterrestrial enemy. After 30 days of bloody battle, they exhausted all of their resources and all of them died. Not even their bones were left. Heavenly Queen Hera, a member of the Myth Alliance, led the 12 gods of the West and detonated their golden cores to kill a mid-stage nascent soul cultivator. Sea King Arthur, a member of the Myth Alliance, led 3,000 Sea Clan demons to attack here and were completely annihilated. Looking at the words on the epitaphs, Zhao Xueqing's tears rolled down. Endless sadness shrouded her heart. She knew all the names on the tombstones and even had deep feelings for them. They had fought side by side with her and defeated the invasion of the Heavenly Shepherd Divine General. Many people's epitaphs were self-narratives. To put it bluntly, they had written them in advance for their comrades and were prepared to die. The 9 elders of Hongmeng were all dead. The 9 elders of Hongmeng had always been very mysterious and low-key. They were extraordinary people who had reached the 3rd level of foundation establishment in the Middle Ages. They had all triggered the immortal trap array and were punished by the heavens. Because of their extreme fear of the immortal trap array, they had been trapped for many years. Only by choosing mediocrity can one choose stability. The road to becoming stronger is full of battles and bloodshed. It's like this for a person and it's still like this for a civilization. Jiang Tian persuaded and also sighed. He was relatively calm. It wasn't that he was cold-blooded and ruthless, but it was a kind of rational understanding. Some of the names on the tombstones had even been his enemies, but when Earth was facing a crisis, they stepped forward bravely and sacrificed themselves for justice, not fearing death. This was a community with a shared future for civilization. They belonged to different countries and even came from different clans. They weren't humans, but they still chose to fight for their common home. Zhao Xueqing's tears rolled down. She choked and sobbed, and her delicate body couldn't stop trembling. Even though she hadn't experienced this war with her own eyes, she could imagine how tragic the situation was at that time. But at this time, Jiang Tian noticed a detail. Sea King Arthur was obviously not good at fighting on land and in the air. Why was he sent to fight on Mars? Was the commander of the Myth Alliance an idiot? Jiang Tian didn't believe that there were idiots in the Myth Alliance. It could be said that every upper echelon of the Myth Alliance was experienced and wise. They wouldn't make such a mistake. There was only one possibility: there might be a situation within the Myth Alliance. They had sent the sea race over to be cannon fodder. Woo-woo-woo. Why are you guys dead too? The large black dog lay in front of a tombstone and sobbed, tears rolling down his face. This was the tomb of Shirley and Qing Lingzi. Back then, they had occupied the Sidoni longevity tribe and occupied the mountain as kings. They were nourished by the immortal Ascension Blood Arrow Orchid and disguised as gods of other clans. They enjoyed the worship of the natives. Unexpectedly, 2 of their companions had also died in battle. The large black dog couldn't bear it anymore. Suddenly, in front of a tombstone, Zhao Xueqing's footsteps froze. Tears flowed down her face and she cried out loud. An old man, the founder of the Yellow Flame Iron Brigade, the Kunlun Sect's Empyrean Walker, and the disciple of Kong Teichu, the sect master of Tianqing School, Yi Tianren. In the winter of 2017 AD, enemies from other regions invaded. Wuxia was the first to bear the brunt. In order to kill the enemy's soul formation stage powerhouse, I used myself as bait to buy time for Wuxia and the Kuelian. Before I died, I carved a tombstone. All living beings on Earth cultivate the same path, work together, carry on the past, and sweep away the enemies from other regions. Even though he was mentally prepared, when he saw this tombstone, Jiang Tian couldn't help but feel sad. He was shocked and could no longer remain calm. Even Yi Tianren died in battle. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold and murderous. Chapter 1685. Jiang Tian admired Yi Tianren's talent very much. Back then, Yi Tianren's god-slaying sword had amazed Jiang Tian. Yi Tianren had gathered the achievements of the 9 elders of Hongmeng, Brahmin, Buddhism, and Kunlun sect. He had mastered the essence of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. On this foundation, he had created the god-slaying sword. This set of swordsmanship was extremely disrespectful to heaven and earth, to the deities, to the Buddha Lord, to the devils, and to all the deities and Buddhas in the world. There was no deity, no devil, no Buddha, and no self in his heart. Therefore he had no fear. There was only the human world in his heart, and there was only unwillingness and anger. He used the infinite sword Qi, endless anger, endless hatred, endless love, and endless compassion to create a sword that could break the heavens and extinguish the blockage in his heart. At that time, when Jiang Tian fought with Yi Tianren in the sky above the king's mansion in Linzhou, he lamented that Yi Tianren was the first ant to look up at the sky. Yi Tianren's sword intent was similar to Jiang Tian's way of cultivation. He did not ask for external things but for himself. He went against heaven and seized the fortune of heaven and earth. Jiang Tian thought highly of Yi Tianren and even listed him as the candidate to bring him to the central galaxy. But now Yi Tianren had died. Then Jiang Tian and the others saw the tombstones of Zhao Yuankuan, Hu Qingtian, and Wei Feilong. The 3 magnates of the Heavenly Alliance who had followed Jiang Tian to conquer the world, the 3 elders, were all dead. Then Yi Zhantian's tombstone. It turned out that Yi Tianren had used himself as bait to attract the extraterrestrial enemies. Wuxia and the Kuelian had successfully launched the attack. After killing many of the extraterrestrial enemies, they were chased by the remaining troops. They had no choice but to drive the interstellar warship to Mars, which had been occupied by the extraterrestrial demons at that time, in an attempt to perish together with them. Yi Zhantian led the cultivators of the Huaxia Long formation to support them, but they were still killed there. Yi Zhantian was once the leader of the Huaxia Long formation. He had fought side by side with Jiang Tian and defeated the Japanese Sakura festival. It could be said that before Jiang Tian transferred Sidoni, Yi had helped Jiang Tian and his wife a lot. Until now. Before the rise of Jiang Tian, the Yi family, which had suppressed the martial arts of China for decades and made great contributions to China's cultivation world, was only left with Yi Karen as the sole heir. Most of them were cenotaphs. Some of them didn't even leave behind their clothes. They were just bare tombstones. Their corpses had long been reduced to ashes and nothingness during the battle. At this moment, Zhao Xueqing could no longer hold on. She fell to the ground and sobbed. She slapped herself again and again as if she had gone mad. "I'm sorry, I didn't protect you well. I didn't alliance. Qing, it's not your fault." Jiang Tian's heart ached. He held Zhao Xueqing's hands and comforted her. "I once taught Lu Shang, the ghost king of Hejian, how to reconstruct the 6 paths of reincarnation in a small area and keep their divine souls from being destroyed. As long as their divine souls are not destroyed, they can be resurrected." Husband, why? We just want Earth to be a cultivation planet. We just want the creatures on Earth to evolve. Why do these extraterrestrial cultivators have to stop us? Why do they have to kill the geniuses of Earth? Don't tell me that killing makes them happy? Zhao Xueqing was unable to calm down and continued to cry. Her body trembled and her tears flowed uncontrollably. Her eyes were filled with sorrow and confusion. This is the cruel universe. Every civilization is a hunter, and they can become the prey of other creatures at any time. Survival has always been a very lucky thing. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and said earnestly, "Don't worry. Qing, you must be strong. We're facing a powerful enemy and the mountains and rivers have been destroyed. Do you still want to command the next battle? Can you still avenge them?" Zhao Xueqing learned about the history of the ruins of immortality and had a deeper understanding of the cruelty of the universe. "It's my fault. I didn't see the big picture. I'm not a qualified commander. You've taught me a lot, but..." Hearing that, she gradually calmed down and stopped crying. However, she still couldn't lift her spirits. She just knelt in front of the tombstone and murmured to herself, blaming herself. "Mistress, I'm sorry for your loss." The black-haired dog also came to comfort her. Objectively speaking, this wasn't Zhao Xueqing's fault. It seemed that even the soul formation grand cultivators of the other side had come and attacked fiercely. Even if Zhao Xueqing stayed on Earth, she might not be able to hold on. Sacrifices were inevitable. Besides, it was reasonable that she went to the ruins of immortality to help Jiang Tian with the captive heavenly shepherd divine general. After all, Zhao Xueqing wasn't an immortal. No one was omniscient and omnipotent. When Jiang Tian left the ruins of immortality, he was only a golden core cultivator, and there were hundreds of soul formation cultivators in the ruins of immortality. As Jiang Tian's lover, Zhao Xueqing was certainly worried after finding the information about the ruins of immortality from the heavenly shepherd divine general. She should have done something, whether it was for public or private reasons. At the end of the day, their defeat could only be attributed to the fact that Earth's spirit energy had only been restored for a short period of time. It had only been 4 years and they were too weak. They only had a few nascent soul cultivators and no soul formation cultivators. Maybe Earth is in deep danger. Qingya, you have to cheer up and fight for the world, for our daughter and family. Jiang Tian said firmly. I'm fine. Zhao Xueqing stood up, wiped her tears and forced a smile. Then, she bowed deeply to the tombstones and said, Seniors and fellow cultivators, rest in peace. I, Zhao Xueqing, swear that I'll kill all the invaders and avenge you. Otherwise I, Zhao Xueqing, am not a human being. Master, it's okay. The black dog grinned. At this moment, he felt that the mistress who looked down on the world, the supreme beauty, had returned. That graceful and delicate body seemed to contain endless power, as if it was the eternal vault of heaven, boundless, vast, firm, and eternally immovable. At the same time, a surge of killing intent soared into the sky. It was bitingly cold, causing the surrounding temperature to plummet. Even the rocks on the ground were frozen and cracked. Jiang Tian and the large black dog also bowed seriously, solemnly, and respectfully. This had nothing to do with cultivation and status. Every living being who dared to resist, who didn't want to be slaves, who fought for their homeland, were all heroes. Jiang Tian respected them greatly. You fought for your homeland and shouldn't be buried in a foreign land. I'm going to take you back to Earth. Zhao Xueqing waved her sleeves and wanted to take their tombstones back. Jiang Tian stopped her and said softly, Qingya, there's no need. This is not a foreign land. This is also their home. The entire solar system and the ruins of immortality are the home of all life on Earth. Determination appeared in his eyes, and the lines on his face were as if carved by knives and axes, revealing incomparable resoluteness. He said in a deep voice, One day, I'll let this lonely planet be full of flowers and grow trees. I'll let the children run here happily, and the battleships and cultivators gallop in the sky. I'll let them see the prosperity they built with their blood and bones, and the brilliant civilization they created and protected. The three of them were about to return to the rising sun and quickly return to Earth. Suddenly, there was a sound of something breaking through the air in the distance. Someone's coming. No, there's a demon coming. The black dog said with a frown. In the distance, 2 balls of light, one black and one green, with long tail shadows, flew toward the graveyard like rainbows that pierced through the sun and the moon. Demon Qi was rolling, and ferocious flames were surging. Huangfan, in front of us is the burial place of the natives of Planet East that I told you before. Lowly natives of Planet East, you're simply courting death. How dare you block the arrival of the Big Dipper 100 races? You're clearly courting death. I'm going to pee on their graves. 2 sneers were heard. Jiang Tian's face was terrifyingly cold, and Zhao Xueqing's eyes were also releasing sharp killing intent. Chapter 1686. You're just a dog spirit. You haven't even reached the level of a nascent soul cultivator. How dare you talk to me like that? I'll kill you with one slap. Then, I'll make you into a dog meat hot pot. The black goat spirit laughed mockingly. However, all of a sudden, his smile froze on his face. The mockery on his face turned into deep fear. He saw it. Ha! I'm a dragon! The large black dog's figure swayed, and he suddenly transformed into a 300-meter-long purple-gold true dragon. His horns were lofty, and his dragon whiskers swayed in the wind. His 5 claws were like golden hooks that tore through the heavens. His scales were purple gold, and they were resounding and heavy. They shone with a metallic luster, and he appeared awe-inspiring and majestic. The large black dog originally possessed the bloodline of a purple-gold true dragon. However, it was only a cub, and it was in the form of a flood dragon. In the past, it had been mischievous, so it had transformed into a large black dog. It had been following Jiang Tian for the past few years, eating golden cores and drinking blood every day. Besides, Jiang Tian also taught it cultivation, so it had already reached the nascent soul level. It had also evolved into a true dragon. Clatter, clatter, clatter. 5 claws. It's a true dragon. It's a nascent soul cultivator. Under the pressure of the purple-gold true dragon, the black goat spirit and Huang Fan were so scared that they fell to their knees, trembling. That was an instinctive fear that went deep into their bones. The purple-golden true dragon and other true dragons were the most powerful divine beasts in the universe. Beasts were nothing compared to them. During the Desolate Age, when beasts dominated the universe, the true dragons were the kings of all beasts. Countless ancestral patriarchs like the black goat spirit and the toad spirit had been eaten by them. So, that fear had been rooted in their blood and bones. They didn't dare to resist. Spare us, Master Dragon. The 2 demons begged. Go to hell. How can you blaspheme my lord? The purple-golden true dragon slapped with its claws the size of a villa without mercy. The yellow demon and tomato demon's bodies, which were strong enough to withstand the blast of a nuclear bomb and the laser beam, could not withstand it at all and exploded instantly. Waves of blood gushed out, and red blood mist filled the air. Sparkling and translucent broken bones and flesh rained down. An enormous mark of a dragon's claw appeared on the ground, which was 10 meters deep. 2 nascent souls suddenly flew out from the remains of the 2 demons. They looked exactly like their original selves, but their faces were filled with fear as they tried to escape. Still want to run? The purple-gold true dragon waved its claws and grabbed the 2 nascent souls. Dragon Master, have mercy. Spare my life. We are willing to be your slaves. The 2 nascent souls were unable to break free and begged for mercy. But how could the purple-gold true dragon let it go? Without another word, it stuffed it into its mouth and chewed. Bang bang. The 2 nascent souls exploded. The true dragon of Jin Xinghong's mouth twitched. His dragon eyes widened, revealing the joy and surprise of discovering a new continent. He murmured, I seem to have discovered a new way of eating, exploding candy. No, it should be called exploding nascent souls. It's much more delicious than golden cores. Zhao Xueqing waved her hand and captured the divine souls of the 2 demons. She immediately searched their souls. Jiang Tian also did the same. A moment later, both of their faces became solemn. It turned out that after Zhao Xueqing left Earth and went to the ruins of deity, the monsters of the Beidou planet region had arrived on Earth. There were even superbrain men and the kindred. The monsters were too powerful. There were more than a dozen soul formation cultivators, and each of them had the power to destroy a country. In addition, there were dozens of golden core cultivators and countless violent monsters. That day, Earth was in an unprecedented crisis. People woke up and found that the world had changed. Giant interstellar spaceships covered the sky. The superbrain men had returned and the monsters from other planets had arrived. There were countless monsters. After the Spirit Chi revival, Earth's technology and cultivation civilization developed rapidly. But the time was too short after all. That was only the 3rd year after the Spirit Chi revival. That day, hundreds of spaceships jointly developed by the whole world and built by all the military forces in the world were 300 miles away from outer space. They covered the sky and the sun and were boundless. However, they were destroyed by a soul formation cultivator of the demon clan with 1 slash. That day, hundreds of thousands of nuclear warheads in the world were arranged into a nuclear array, in outer space. Under the command of Canes, the commander-in-chief of the mythological alliance, they exploded together. That kind of power was enough to destroy several Earths before the Spirit Chi revival. However, that soul formation cultivator walked out of the flames unscathed. At that moment, humans were desperate. The most powerful trump card of mankind was declared ineffective in 10 minutes. In the end, only the Kuelian killed one soul formation cultivator and seriously injured 3 others. But that led to an even crazier and more brutal counterattack by the monsters from other planets. The bases that humans had set up on Mars were all wiped out in 3 days. The space war was over. The monsters marched straight to Earth. The monsters from other planets entered Earth and swept across. Within a day, the small countries in the West, the Black Eagle, the Snow Country and other primitive and backward countries were all taken over. They couldn't withstand a single blow. Only Wuxia, the Black Eagle and the Snow Country were safe and sound thanks to the Kuelian system. At that moment, Earth had to admit that the technology they were so proud of was vulnerable in front of the monsters from other planets. It was also from that day onwards. The cultivators of the mythological alliance declared war on the monsters from other planets. Whether they were from the east or the west, human beings, demons, or even spectral cultivators, they were all determined to die. On Earth, they even went to neighboring planets such as Mars and the Moon to wage fierce battles with the extraterrestrial demon cultivators. These wars could be said to be cruel to the extreme and unprecedented. Some monsters from other planets opened their abyss-like mouths and swallowed a nuclear bomb. Some monsters from other planets slashed the sky with their swords and supersonic fighter jets fell like rain. There were also superbrains and superbodies that turned into political dignitaries and gave orders to disrupt the plan. Although the cultivators on Earth had improved rapidly, their foundation was too weak after all. They had suffered heavy losses, but they still couldn't stop themselves from being defeated. Most of them were like Heavenly Yi, who used the method of mutual destruction to kill the other party. The creatures on Earth were defeated. The extraterrestrial demonic beasts were like Godzilla, turning many large cities into ruins. Many large countries were in shambles, and Earth's civilizations seemed to be on the verge of destruction. But then, the human cultivators of the Big Dipper suddenly arrived and joined forces with the creatures on Earth to fight against the monsters from other planets. After 3 consecutive battles, the humans of the Big Dipper and the creatures on Earth won. The monsters from other planets were finally driven out of Earth and could only build bases or space cities on Mars and other planets in the solar system. The human cultivators of the Big Dipper planet region stayed on Earth and built sects and organizations one after another. However, there was no more information in the minds of the 2 nascent soul demons. They weren't the top level of the monsters. They were just carrying out orders and the information they received was only partial. After the couple finished searching for the information, Zhao Xueqing seemed to be relieved and sighed. Fortunately, the human cultivators of the Big Dipper planet region are doing well. Earth is still safe after defeating the monsters from other planets. Jiang Tian shook his head and said, "I'm afraid it's not as simple as you think." Chapter 1687. My lord, what do you mean? The purple golden true dragon, who had turned back into the black dog, was confused. There are very few true pacifists in the universe. Most civilizations and races will choose to expand. The human cultivators in the Beidou planet region won't help Earth easily. They're not kind people. They just want to get a certain degree of affection and develop peacefully. Jiang Tian said softly, "My lord, why do you think people are so pessimistic?" The black dog grunted. Jiang Tian's eyes were incomparably deep, containing the wisdom accumulated over tens of thousands of years as he said softly, "If the human cultivators of the Beidou planet come to Earth, the forces on Earth would certainly be reluctant. However, if they instigated the demon race to attack the Earth first, and then they pretended to eliminate and expel the Earth, they would become the saviors of the Earth. The races on Earth will welcome them with open arms." Well, if so, won't the forces on Earth welcome the human cultivators of the Beidou planet? Zhao Xueqing was shocked. "I also hope I'm wrong." Before Jiang Tian could finish, "Fellow Taoist, aren't you measuring the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain?" A voice that was like a thunderclap resounded through the heavens and the earth, and it shook the earth to the point of trembling. 3 kilometers tall mountains collapsed while violent gales whistled, and the heavens and the earth dimmed down as if the end of the world had arrived. A few blade auras flew from afar like shooting stars. They were a few cultivators riding on swords. The cultivator leading them was a nascent soul cultivator. He looked rough and his eyes were like bronze bells. His short hair was like steel brushes and he was tall, about 2.5 meters. He was wearing a yellow animal skin shirt, revealing his muscular chest. He walked over step by step. The human cultivators of the Beidou planet are indeed fighting for Earth. We don't have any selfish motives. He yelled with disdain. I'm Pan Sheng, an elder of the Boundless sect in the Kaiyang Galaxy in the Beidou planet region. I came to Mars to kill Huang Fan and Qin Fan. I didn't think I'd die in your hands. Greetings, fellow Taoist Pan. I am a cultivator from Earth, Kong Teichu. This is my wife. Jiang Tian didn't suspect anything and cupped his fists in greeting. This was because he had searched through the memories of Huang and Fan's souls, and it was indeed the case. Pan Sheng had been leading a few cultivators to chase after Huang Fan all over the world. They had already traversed half of the solar system. This cultivator named Pan Sheng had indeed killed many demon beasts and protected Earth. Therefore, there was no need for Jiang Tian to shed all pretense of cordiality before he confirmed some of his speculations. Kong Teichu. Pan Sheng frowned, feeling that it sounded a little familiar, but he couldn't remember it at the moment. However, he didn't take it to heart. In his impression, the cultivators on Earth were too backward. Thus, he put his hands on his hips and said casually, "In short, don't make wild guesses before you figure it out. Alright, since the two of you were able to kill Huang and Fan together, you should have a nascent soul cultivation base, right?" "I am a nascent soul cultivator." Jiang Tian nodded. Zhao Xueqing remained indifferent and didn't say anything. Pan Sheng nodded and said proudly, "I know there's a lair of demon beasts on Mars. Divine Lord Scorpio is there. He ranks 93rd on the star list in the past 1,000 years and is also one of the 10 divine lords of the monsters that invaded Earth this time. This time, I want to get rid of this person and make a name for myself. I wonder if the three of you are interested? The Beidou planet region is indeed powerful." Yes. Jiang Tian was intrigued. Only the top 100 soul formation overlords in the entire Beidou planet region who had reached the soul formation level before the age of 300 had the chance to appear on the star list. There were 7 planets in the Beidou planet region. Each of them was comparable to the Alpha Centauri system, or even more so. Because of its vast area and abundant resources, the cultivation arts were also passed down to a certain level. So, there were many soul formation overlords. The star list would be refreshed every 1,000 years. In other words, there had been more than 100 soul formation overlords in the Beidou planet region in the past 1,000 years. There could be hundreds or even thousands of them. Although such a civilization was still far from the sacred grounds and celestial sects in the central galaxy, it was still comparable to some small sections. Divine Lord Scorpio is ranked 93rd on the star list in the past 1,000 years. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes and a cold glitter flashed in his eyes. Jiang Tian remembered that the sword god of the ruins Emperor Palace wasn't even listed on the star list in the past 1,000 years. He had only left the ruins of deity after losing the battle for the position of sect heir of the Saint Era Sword sect. Divine Lord Scorpio was listed on the star list, which meant that he was definitely not weak. Zhao Xueqing looked at Jiang Tian and saw that Jiang Tian didn't deny it. She then nodded and said, "All right, we're willing to go." She already hated the monsters from other planets and had nowhere to vent her anger. Now that she knew where the lair of the monsters was, how could she not go on a killing spree to avenge herself? "Elder Pan, are we really going?" A young man at the peak stage golden core level next to her asked worriedly. He wanted to say something but stopped, feeling uneasy. Elder Pan was only a nascent soul level cultivator, while the enemy had a soul formation level cultivator. How could she be a match for them? What's there to be afraid of? Elder Pan said confidently. I worked so hard to form an 8th grade nascent soul back then, and it's already at the peak. Divine Lord Scorpio only had a 3rd grade monster core back then. Even if he becomes a soul formation level cultivator, he'll only be a 3rd grade soul formation level cultivator. Can't I defeat him? Do you think an 8th grade nascent soul level cultivator is useless? Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing looked at each other, their hearts beating fast. Even a cultivator who wasn't the top in the Big Dipper planet region had an 8th grade nascent soul. Maybe there would be a supreme, sacred, or deity grade nascent soul level cultivator in the Big Dipper planet region. Besides, the Big Dipper planet region seemed to value the quality of the nascent soul very much and had a way to form it. Based on that alone, the cultivation heritage in the Big Dipper planet region was much better than that in the ruins of deity. After all, practically all the golden cores, nascent souls, and soul transformation realm cultivators in the ruins of immortality were condensed naturally, and there were no special secret techniques to improve their quality. Moreover, most of them were at the 1st or 2nd grade, and they were extremely damaged and in decline. It was like a child who had been malnourished since young. Although he had become an adult, he was still as thin and weak as a child. Naturally, he wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. The young man respectfully bowed to Jiang Tian and Zhao Xueqing and said, Senior Tai Chu. I'm Yuan Jiankong. You can call me Xiao Yuan. Please take good care of me. Of course. Jiang Tian nodded. He was impressed by how alert this kid was. When forming a team to kill monsters, it was very important to build a good relationship. At critical moments, a teammate's casual help could even save one's life. And in the team, the female cultivator known as Princess Redjoy looked at Jiang Tian with disdain. She glanced at him and said, Junior brother Jiankong, although he is a nascent soul, the nascent souls of Earth's cultivators are mostly inferior grade nascent souls. His combat strength is only at the level of an ordinary golden core or even worse. Are you really going to let him take care of you? Chapter 1688. Princess Redjoy was the daughter of a marquis back in the mortal world. She was used to being arrogant. After embarking on the path of cultivation and entering a sect, her talent was pretty good. She managed to cultivate a 9th grade golden core at the age of 40. Furthermore, she had already formed a nascent soul. Her chances of advancing to the nascent soul realm were extremely high, and she was bound to be an elder. She came from a good background, had great talent, and was beautiful. She was naturally highly valued by the sect. The male cultivators flattered her, making her even more arrogant and condescending. She had accompanied the sect team to Earth in search of an immortal opportunity. The strongest cultivators she saw on Earth were only at the nascent soul realm. There wasn't even a single soul formation cultivator. It was as though she was a billionaire in the slums. She thought nothing of anyone. In fact, she could have sent a voice transmission with her spiritual perception. However, she chose to say it out loud, without hiding from Jiang Tian and company. It was because of this mentality. Senior Sister Redjoy, isn't this like having more friends means more options? The mission is ever-changing. Who knows what will happen? When little Yuan heard that, he only smiled and did not retort. He came from a humble background and his talent was only average. His cultivation level was obtained through arduous cultivation. He had been weathered and tempered throughout his journey. Gradually, he developed a humble and tenacious personality. After Elder Pan gave the order, everyone set off. Everyone set out once again, and all of them stepped on their swords as they dashed towards the direction called the Oceanic Desert. It was said that it was where Divine Lord Scorpio had set up his base on Mars. In the group, Princess Redjoy was still dissatisfied. She chased after Elder Pan and said, Elder, the cultivators on Earth are weak. From my point of view, they will only be a burden. Elder Pan was not angered. He said with a smile, Princess Redjoy, don't be arrogant and complacent. You have to know that there is always someone better out there. An additional person is always an additional strength. Remember, even if it's a piece of rock or a piece of trash, it still has its uses. Holy shit, what is this old bastard saying? Who is trash is a piece of rock? I'll smack him to death. The large black dog was so infuriated that his lungs nearly exploded. However, he did not immediately take action. Although he was mischievous and comical, he knew that following Jiang Tian was strictly forbidden. Don't be in such a hurry. Let's continue walking, Jiang Tian said indifferently. He had to capture Sir Scorpio alive, or at least search his soul to figure out the real situation on Earth. The internal situation of the Big Dipper monster tribe, especially their relationship with the human cultivators of the Big Dipper monster tribe, was extremely important. Therefore, he could not act rashly. Earth's cultivation civilization was still in its infancy. Many people's knowledge was very shallow. Most of the time, the division was based on ethnic groups. It was important to note that if a person was not of the same ethnic group, their intentions would definitely be different. For example, when the human race on Earth saw a demon, they would naturally think that it was very dangerous. When they saw a human, they would feel close. In fact, in the universe, the demon race, the human race, and even the demon race lived together. They even complemented each other and erupted into brilliant civilizations. The true cohesive force of an organization was not the ethnic group or even the bloodline, but the common interests. Whenever a planet where humans and demons lived together was attacked, all the races would work together to resist. Jiang Tian would not easily believe that the humans and demons of the Big Dipper constellation were mortal enemies. He would rather believe that they had merged with each other. At that moment, Princess Redjoy suddenly sent a voice transmission with a charming and adorable tone. Elder Pan, I understand. You actually do not think much of these two cultivators. You only want to use them and the dog as cannon fodder, right? They will be of great use at critical moments. Elder Pan did not say a word. It was unknown what he was thinking. All he did was step on his flying sword and fly rapidly. Along the way, no one paid any attention to Jiang Tian and company. They did not think much of them. Only Yuan Zhenkong flew to Jiang Tian's side and introduced the situation of the Mizar star system, the Boundless Sect, and Mars. He also introduced the strength, cultivation levels, specialties, and Dharma treasures of the team members. In fact, such introductions were very necessary in a team that was formed at the last minute. This was because only with the strength of the teammates could they work together more tacitly and produce the greatest combat strength. Of course, Jiang Tian already knew that Elder Pan and the other upper echelons had the intention of using Jiang Tian and company as cannon fodder. Even if Yuan Zhenkong introduced them, it was useless. The Mizar star system was one of the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. There were more than 30 life-bearing planets around it. They were all rich in spirit chi and were suitable for cultivation. The size of each life-bearing planet was not much smaller than the present Earth. Many of them were even larger. However, the spirit chi there was lacking. The Boundless Sect was one of the top 10 divine sects in the Mizar star system. A divine sect required the continuous emergence of soul formation experts. It could not be cut off for even a year. Once it was cut off, the title of divine sect would be revoked. When the Boundless Sect was at its peak, it had 20 soul formation experts. It was known as the number 1 divine sect in the Mizar star system. However, the Boundless Sect only had 3 soul formation experts. It was ranked last among the top 10 divine sects. As for the strongest divine sect, it was the Wintry North Sect. The Wintry North Sect was extremely prosperous. It had 30 soul formation experts. Jiang Tian was not anxious. He was happy to chat with Yuan Zhenkong and obtain the information he wanted. This time, the Big Dipper cultivators that came to the solar system were mostly gathered in the light-shaking star system and the Mizar star system. There were more than 30 sects of various sizes and a total of 100,000 cultivators. Among them, there were dozens of soul formation cultivators. The more powerful ones were the Wintry North Sect, the Exiled Deity Palace, the Feiyang Sect, and the Wuji Sect. Is the Sacred Era Sword Sect here? Jiang Tian asked. The Sacred Era Sword Sect was the sect where the sword god of the Ruins Emperor's Palace was in the Big Dipper sect. The Sacred Era Sword Sect? Yuan Zhenkong scratched his head and pondered. After a while, he slapped his thigh and said, I remember now. The Zongzi of the Sacred Era Sword Sect, Luochen, is indeed here. However, he's just a vassal of the Wuji sect. The Zongzi of the Wuji sect was interested in Luo Chen's partner, goddess Ziling. He didn't even dare to say a word and Luo Chen gave her away. Whoa! Jiang Tian was startled. It seemed that the forces that came to the solar system this time were not to be underestimated. It was said that the sword god of the ruins Emperor's Palace lost to Luo Chen when he fought for the position of Zongzi. Luo Chen was definitely not an ordinary person. However, in front of the Zongzi of the Wuji sect, he could only give away his partner to please him. That was how terrifying the Wuji sect and the Wintry North sect were. Half an hour later, when they arrived above a hill, they saw that there were many cultivators densely packed on top of the hill. There were also a few flying ships and ships, all of which shone with light and were engraved with countless runes. They seemed to have merged with the surrounding environment and harmonized with the laws. Their crafting skills were not inferior to the unsetting sun at all. Descend. Then, after Elder Pan gave the order, the team landed. The black-haired dog couldn't help but mutter, "Why are there others?" He couldn't wait to kill his way to the Scorpio Divine Lord's nest and avenge Shirley and Qing Linzi. Looks like we're a team of the team. This is a team, Yuan Jiankong explained with a smile. He looked relieved. After all, it was said that the Scorpio Divine Lord was here. If Elder Pan was only a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator, he wouldn't have the slightest chance of winning this battle. The chances of him dying were too high. Now that the team's strength had increased, the success rate of the mission had also greatly increased. Chapter 1689. Don't spout nonsense. If you offend an important figure, you will have to bear the consequences. Princess Redjoy frowned and bellowed. She glared at Jiang Tian and company with a look of disdain and annoyance. Yuan Jiankong trembled in fright. He quickly nodded and shut his mouth. Princess Redjoy had always been harsh and cruel to others. She was not joking. If any problems were to occur, even if she did not kill him on account of her fellow sect members, she would not be able to avoid killing Taoist Jiang and the other two outsiders. Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he blended into the crowd. He sized up the cultivators without saying a word. Most of the cultivators were above the nascent soul realm. The weakest were at the golden core realm. Some of them were setting up spirit-gathering arrays around them as they breathed slowly to recover their yuan qi. Some stood upright as they scanned their surroundings warily. Some of them remained silent, deep in thought. However, there was not the slightest bit of noise. Clearly, this group was also quite disciplined. The most eye-catching one was a golden warship. It was engraved with countless array patterns and could withstand at least 10 attacks from a soul formation expert. It was the most expensive of the many flying vessels. Around 10 nascent soul cultivators stood on their swords and hovered in the air like guards. They did not dare to slack off. 4 peak nascent soul cultivators and 1 half-step soul formation cultivator. Finally, Jiang Tian's consciousness landed on the 5 people in the golden warship. He came to a realization. At that moment, among the 5, a beautiful woman with a slender figure walked out of the cabin. Her snow-white legs were faintly discernible under her pink palatial dress. She said in a coquettish voice, Hey, Elder Pan, you sure are influential. You actually made the divine son of the Northern Frost sect, Han Che, wait for you. I know my mistake. Greetings, divine son Han Che. Elder Pan, who had been flaunting his prowess in the boundless sect, knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times and 9 times. His face was filled with fear. However, everyone felt that it was only natural. They were not surprised. Divine son, the son of a soul formation cultivator. Strictly speaking, there were 2 meanings. One was that at least one of their parents was a soul formation expert. The other type was those who were extremely talented and had reached the peak of the nascent soul stage or even half a step into the soul formation stage. They would definitely step into the soul formation stage, which was the seed of the soul formation stage. Regardless of the situation, a divine son was an extremely important and influential figure. Plus, the Wuxia clan, Snow God Palace, North Pole Temple and the Huangyuan clan were all affiliated with the Beihan clan. Even an ordinary inner disciple of the Freezing North clan would be treated with caution by the higher-ups of the 4 major sects, let alone a god's son. Specifically, Han Xianxia's father was an elder in the divine transformation realm. Moreover, he himself was extremely talented. He formed the golden elixir when he was 50 years old and reached the nascent soul realm when he was 100 years old. Now, he was only 200 years old and he was already half a step away from the divine transformation realm. Elder Pan could not compare to him at all. Good heavens! This time, Han Xianxia is leading the team. I heard that not only does he come from a good family, his talent is exceptional, his cultivation is heaven-defying, and he is very powerful. Moreover, he is also very handsome. Sigh, if I perform well during the mission, I might catch his eye and be taken in as his maidservant. Wouldn't that be a meteoric rise? And when the female cultivators, led by Princess Redjoy, heard that Han Xianxia was present, their eyes shone with reverence. They were like fangirls who had seen their idol. This time, I must become the divine son's woman. Father, mother, please bless your daughter. Even Princess Redjoy was tempted. She muttered in a drunken stupor as her eyes revealed a lustful look. Princess Redjoy needed to rely on Han Che when it came to cultivation. In terms of worldly wealth and power, Han Xianxia controlled 2 vital planets. As for Princess Redjoy, she only controlled a small state. She was too far away from Han Xianxia. The Freezing North clan was just too powerful. It controlled more than 10 vital planets. The territory it controlled was boundless and the resources it had were inexhaustible. Dozens of mortal countries and billions of lives had to listen to its orders. They worshipped it as a god and prayed to it daily. The disciples of the Freezing North clan were like immortals or Buddhas in the mortal world. Even the ruler of a country had to treat them with respect. It could be said that the Freezing North sect had absolute control over the life and death of the people on the planets that were under their control. It's actually Han Xianxia. Han Xianxia once killed dozens of nascent soul Fey cultivators. He has a glorious battle record. That's right. I heard that even Zongzi Han Ming treats him as his right-hand man. Zongzi Han Ming is one of the 3 Zongzis of the Freezing North clan. Furthermore, he is the eldest Zongzi with a glorious battle record. He is the Zongzi with the greatest chance of becoming sect master. Second Zongzi Han Cheng is here as well. Why isn't Han Cheng the most likely? The grade of a soul formation cultivator determines one's future and potential. It is closely related to the chances of reaching the peak of the void refinement realm. Han Cheng is only a 6th grade soul formation cultivator while Han Ming is a sacred grade soul formation cultivator. A sacred grade soul formation cultivator is rarer than a transcendent grade soul formation cultivator. It is said that the chances of him becoming a void refinement grade sage are extremely high. And for a 6th grade soul formation cultivator to reach the void refinement realm, there is only a 1% chance. So, basically, Han Ming will be the sect master. Once Han Ming becomes the sect master, Han Xianxia will at least be an elder. By then, he will be second only to one person and above billions of people. He will be able to control several cultivation planets. That's right. A real man should be like that. Many male cultivators looked at him with admiration, wishing they could replace him. The female cultivator in the palace gown was an elder of the Huangyuan sect. Her name was Qin Shiferi and she was a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator. She was highly regarded by Han Xianxia. They had worked together many times before and didn't take Elder Pan seriously. Hearing that, she snorted. If you do this again, even if we don't blame you, Han Xianxia won't let you go. Where is the supreme dignity of the Freezing North clan? It's okay. It won't affect anything important. Elder Pan, you may rise. Han Xianxia walked out and said with a smile. Han Xianxia was tall and handsome. His eyebrows were sword-like and his nose was high. The corners of his mouth were well-defined. and the lines on his face were as if they were carved by a knife. He wore a golden battle suit and a purple gold crown, which made him look even more majestic and heroic. He was like an invincible god of war that had descended to the mortal world. As a half-step soul formation grand cultivator, Xianxia had the aura of someone who had achieved Tao. It was as if he had merged with heaven and earth and merged with the surrounding environment. His handsomeness, which was cultivated through cultivation, was free and easy and transcended worldly matters. His peerless majesty, which was honed through holding an important position and leading an army to fight, was harmoniously and perfectly integrated into one. Thank you for your generosity, Xianxia. Under Xianxia's majesty, the 4 peak stage nascent soul cultivators, including Qin Fairy, didn't dare to be negligent and bowed. Elder Pan kowtowed again to express his gratitude before he dared to stand up and wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. Rumor has it that Xianxia is one of the top 10 most handsome men in the Mizang Star Zone. I didn't believe it before, but now that I've met him, he does live up to his reputation. Top 10? I think he should be ranked first. Upon seeing Xianxia's true face, many female cultivators were mesmerized, wishing they could die for him. As expected of the most dazzling man in the Mizang Star Zone under the cosmos. As for Princess Redjoy, she felt her body heat up and even a little damp. She felt that compared to Xianxia, all the men in the world were like candlelight in front of the sun. They were all dim and not worth mentioning. Taoist Grand Primordium, this is Xianxia. He reached half-step soul formation before 200 years old. Isn't he powerful? Yuan Jiankong looked envious and excited. Yes, not bad. Jiang Tian nodded insincerely. After all, there was no need to attract the attention of others. In fact, if he wanted to reach the peak of the soul formation realm, he would have done it years ago. He only wanted to lay down a firm Tao foundation in preparation to become an immortal. He was focused on condensing a divine-grade golden core, which was why his progress had slowed down. As for Qingya, she was only in her early 30s and had already reached the soul formation realm. Furthermore, she was at the immortal grade. Xianxia would never be able to catch up. Yuan Jiankong felt that Jiang Tian did not think much of Xianxia, but he did not take it to heart. After all, Earth's cultivation civilization had just begun to flourish. It was normal for Jiang Tian to not understand the strength of the strong. Not bad. As a loyal admirer of Xianxia, Princess Redjoy could not help but feel indignant when she heard Jiang Tian's evaluation. She snorted and said, "What an ignorant fool. You are not even a hair on Xianxia's head. These earth cultivators have inferior cultivation levels and are like frogs in a well. Yet all of them think highly of themselves. Sigh, perhaps this is what they mean by the ignorant being fearless." Chapter 1690. Fellow cultivators, we're here to kill Divine Lord Tian Scorpion under the order of Zongzi Han Ming of the Beihan sect. The Zongzi has decreed that all the cultivation resources obtained can be given to everyone. Xianxia glanced at everyone and said, "Also, the Beihan sect will give you double the merit points for every monster you kill. You can exchange for related cultivation arts at our sect. But remember, Divine Lord Tian Scorpion is the one you must kill. Anyone who injures him once will be rewarded with 100 merit points. Those who successfully kill him will be rewarded with 10,000 merit points and will be able to enter the Beihan sect and become a disciple. You will also be appointed as a sect leader or above." Boom. After hearing that, what? The reward for this mission is so generous. Those who injure Divine Lord Tian Scorpion once will be rewarded with 100 merit points and can exchange for a nascent soul cultivation art. Those who injure him 10 times will be able to exchange for enough Guizhong Cauldron pills, which can help a golden core cultivator break through to the nascent soul level quickly. Enter the Beihan sect and become a disciple? Being able to receive guidance from the sect master and the grand elders? Oh my god, that's like reaching the sky in one step. The cultivators at the scene were dumbfounded, causing an uproar among them. The Beihan sect and its affiliated sects didn't have any inheritance, so they didn't share their cultivation resources. So, the Beihan sect had to invest a lot in the missions. Before the mission, they would give the cultivators Dharma artifacts for protection, escape, and killing. They would even give some rewards. Of course, once the mission was completed, the Beihan sect would also take a large share of the spoils as the mission organizer and the provider of battle information. But this time, the Beihan sect gave out the materials for the mission and didn't take any spoils. They also gave out merit points and the chance to become a disciple of the Beihan sect. They were so generous that it was as if they were giving out money. Let's go. Kill them. It's just 10,000 monsters. They'll be destroyed in a minute. Divine Lord Tian Scorpion is indeed powerful, but we're all working together. Do you think we can't kill them? As more and more battle materials were distributed, the battle atmosphere became even more intense and the battle intent was even higher. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that at this moment, all the cultivators were filled with excitement as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They rubbed their palms together and couldn't wait to fight the demons. Xianxia, don't worry. We will definitely not let you down. Princess Redjoy loudly declared her stance. Very good. Xianxia gave her a look of praise. It made Princess Redjoy blush slightly as her heart raced. Even her breathing quickened. Then he swept his gaze across the crowd and said, Xianxia, I'm relieved. I'm Xianxia. He Xianxia suddenly, Xianxia, then it won't be just you who will die. It will be the annihilation of your entire clan and your bloodline. With that said, there was a loud boom. A violent pressure descended from him, suppressing everyone. Their bodies trembled, and they were on the verge of collapse. Their hearts almost exploded, and they were filled with endless fear. We understand. Xianxia, don't worry. Everyone knelt to the ground. Only Jiang Tian, his wife, and the large black dog stood motionless. Upon seeing this scene, Princess Redjoy's gaze turned sharp as she said coldly, Xianxia, we should kneel after the pre-battle mobilization. How can a mere nascent soul cultivator from Earth be so rude? Earth's cultivators are the masters of this stellar domain. You have no affiliation with my wintry North sect, so there's no need to kneel. Just as Zhao Xueqing's gaze turned sharp and she was about to attack, Xianxia showed his magnanimity. He waved his hand and said, it's very rare to cultivate to the nascent soul realm on Earth. They are all talented people with limitless potential. They are worthy of respect. Everyone, please be polite. I'll remember your teachings. Princess Redjoy hurriedly nodded. Princess Redjoy, come to my airship. I'll give you some pointers on your cultivation techniques. Xianxia suddenly said with a smile after asking for Princess Redjoy's name. At that instant, many female cultivators, including Fairy Chen Shi, revealed looks of jealousy. Fairy Chen Shi harumphed and cursed under her breath. That little hussy sure knows how to seduce men. Sigh, all I hear is the laughter of the newcomers and not the tears of the old. Hanch must be tired of me. Thank you, Xianxia. Princess Redjoy was immediately overjoyed and excited. She could not hide her smile. Sensing the jealous gazes of the people around her, she raised her chin proudly and deliberately puffed out her chest. She flew into Xianxia's airship. Aya, why are the restrictions on this airship so powerful? The laws of gravity have changed drastically. Princess Redjoy exclaimed as her face turned pale. She deliberately pretended to lose control and fall. She was half joking. The laws of gravity had indeed changed, but with her cultivation level, it was not to the point where she would fall. Little lass, you have to be careful. Xianxia flew out and with a casual wave of his hand, a wisp of yuan qi swept out and pulled Princess Redjoy into his embrace. Following that, he spun around and gracefully landed on the airship. Princess Redjoy felt even hotter and more humid as she was carried by Xianxia in a princess hug, and smelled the alluring masculine scent that was close to her. Xianxia hung high in the sky. His temperament was boundless and pure. All the other men in the world were filthy and incomparable. After this brief interlude, the entire group finally set off. Although Earth's spiritual energies had been restored, causing the laws of the entire solar system to change. Mars had expanded to a certain extent, but it was only 2 to 3 times its original size. It was not much bigger than Earth. The oceanic desert was less than 5,000 kilometers away. With their speed, they arrived in a few hours. Looking out, all they saw was a vast desert that stretched as far as the eye could see. It was even more desolate and barren than the other parts of the desert. There were no mountains or basins. There was only a vast expanse of flat desert. It made people suspect that if an ordinary person were to enter, they would lose their sense of reference and become lost. There were no buildings in the desert, making people suspect that there were fey beasts entrenched here. However, Jiang Tian knew. Among the fey beasts, scorpions were considered the strongest species. They had tenacious vitality and were resistant to low temperatures and dryness. Furthermore, they had always lived in caves. Indeed, Jiang Tian's soul-devouring perception blasted out as he scanned the area. He saw that 50 kilometers underground, there were tunnels that intersected with each other. There were caves of various sizes that spanned 50 kilometers. It was like a majestic underground city. This was Scorpio Fey City. It was brightly lit and there were countless Fey. There were shops, markets, training halls, palaces, command centers, alchemy rooms, storage areas. There were all sorts of areas with all sorts of functions. It was extremely bustling and could be considered a city. Just the number of scorpions entrenched here numbered in the tens of thousands. There were all sorts of array formations and restrictions. They even planted many plants that were twisted and hideous. They had withered branches and withered leaves, as though they were completely dead. They looked like ghosts. Some of the plants were even covered with black scales. Some had mouths with ferocious fangs. They looked like trees but weren't trees. They looked like demons but weren't. Many fey beasts had reached the nascent soul transformation stage and had already taken human form. As for those below the nascent soul transformation stage, most of them had yet to take human form or were half-transformed. Although the Scorpio Fey were the dominant species here, there were also many other fey beasts. For example, the desert flying lizards, rock snakes, gerbils, and so on had their own areas. Chapter 1691. Hundreds of iron-back sandwolves were entrenched in an underground wolf palace. The blood of the humans on Earth is so fresh and sweet. These worms are so delicious. They had turned into human forms and were sitting on thrones made of human bones. They used human skulls as cups filled with fresh human blood and drank. Hundreds of human captives were hung on the racks, being gnawed and gnawed by those captives. They screamed shrilly until they died from the pain. There were bones on the ground and blood was everywhere. It was like hell on earth. What surprised Jiang Tian even more was that the laws of the entire oceanic desert had been completely changed. The laws of gravity in the outside world were similar to those on Earth, but the gravity there had suddenly increased by 10 times. This meant that if an ordinary person weighing 100 kilograms was there, he would feel as if he was under 1,000 kilograms of pressure and would die instantly. Changing the laws. A glint flashed across Jiang Tian's eyes as he thought. Indeed, the cultivation arts of the Beidou planet region are much more advanced than those of the ruins of deity. They can change the laws of a few hundred miles without using arrays. Be careful, everyone. We've entered the oceanic desert. This place is different from the outside world. Divine Lord Scorpio has been here for a few months. Even quicksand and plants can be turned into monsters. So, we have to be very careful and don't let our guard down. Elder Pan Sheng reminded with his immortal will. This time, the Beihan sect was well prepared. Every cultivator who participated in the mission was given a lot of Earth escape talismans and drilling talismans. There were also small Dharma artifacts on the airships for people to ride. Hanch Divine Prince got off the airship and waved his hand. The airship suddenly shrank and went into his storage ring. Let's go! Hanch Divine Prince's face was as cold as steel and a glint of determination flashed in his eyes. As soon as he gave the order, the soldiers began to move. All the cultivators took out talismans or rode on Dharma artifacts and went 100 miles deep into the ground into Sky Scorpio's lair. The cultivators of the Beihan sect and the other 4 divine sects were all very powerful and had been through hundreds of battles. Moreover, they often worked together to carry out missions, so their teamwork was very good. Each of them stood on their flying swords and moved stealthily in the underground city, silently advancing into the depths of the nest. Once the Sky Scorpions and other demon clans appeared, they would immediately throw out a soundproof talisman that blocked out divine sense probing. Then hundreds and thousands of flying swords would swarm over and be wiped out. Then, some cultivators went forward happily to collect the corpses, weapons, and Dharma artifacts of the demon clan. The Yao race's entire body was a treasure. Their skin and fur could be used to make battle armor or paper for drawing talismans. Their flesh and blood could be eaten directly or used to refine pills. It was extremely beneficial for increasing one's cultivation. Demon cores, and demon nascent souls were also treasures used to refine elixirs and Dharma artifacts. Jiang Tian and his wife, as well as the large black dog, were hiding at the back of the group, not revealing anything. Only when demonic beasts approached and encountered real danger would they counterattack. Quite a few of them are golden core level demonic beasts. It's really unbearable to not eat. The large black dog was greedy. It couldn't help but drool as it watched the golden core level demonic beasts being killed by other cultivators and put into the storage ring as trophies. Our ultimate goal is to figure out the relationship between the demon clan and the human race in the Big Dipper galaxy. These demon cores are easy to get. Jiang Tian reminded. Seeing that Jiang Tian and his wife and the large black dog didn't kill many demonic beasts, the other cultivators showed disdain. Yuan Jiankong was the only one who didn't leave and stayed in the same group as Jiang Tian. The first level, the second level, the third level, everyone went through more than 10 levels of the nest in one breath. When they reached the 20th level, the number of demon soldiers and demon generals increased continuously. They only slowed down when there were nascent soul-level demons. In the beginning, everyone relied on their rich combat experience and the many Dharma artifacts and weapons given by the freezing North sect to advance quickly. They were excited and relaxed. However, the deeper they went, the more powerful the demons they encountered. When a few golden core level cultivators died and a mid-stage nascent soul level cultivator was severely injured, everyone became cautious. At this moment, Han Shenxi's face turned serious as he issued an order. Speed is the most important thing in war. Don't fight and don't hide. Go straight to the enemy and kill Divine Lord Tian Scorpion. Yes. The cultivators shouted together and their flying swords flashed across the sky like shooting stars, rushing towards the bottom of the Sky Scorpion's nest. At the edge of the oceanic desert, a few disciples of the freezing North sect who were in charge of patrolling were just about to fly away when their minds suddenly trembled. They quickly landed and looked over in shock. They saw a huge pillar of fire that was as red as the sun and carried an aura that could burn the heavens shot into the depths of the oceanic desert like a meteor hitting the atmosphere. It instantly invaded the lair. That's a half-divine lord. It's a real divine lord. A cultivator with sharp eyes exclaimed. Jiang Tian had killed hundreds of soul formation grand cultivators in the ruins of deity and made it sound like soul formation cultivators were common. In fact, that wasn't the case. Normally, only one soul formation cultivator would be born in the ruins of deity, a cultivation planet 100 times larger than Earth. The reason why there were so many soul formation grand cultivators in the ruins of deity was because of the serious crisis. The potential of the civilization had been stimulated to the extreme, which was the result of killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. Soul formation divine lords were the top cultivators of the sects in the entire Beidou planet region. They were as rare as unicorns. This time, there were only a dozen soul formation cultivators among the Beidou planet cultivators on the expedition to the solar system. Each of them stood at the top of the world and looked down on the world. They were usually superior and were rarely seen. Why were they all gathered in the oceanic desert that day? But they weren't done being surprised. One after another, there were beams of golden light as sharp as heavenly swords, black light and green mist. In a blink, a few more beams of light were poured into the oceanic desert and went deep underground. 1 through 3. There are at least 4 soul formation divine lords. Including the one before, there are 5 in total. Everyone was shocked. What's going on? Even if Divine Lord Scorpio is really here, there's no need for him to go so far, right? Could it be that other divine lords of the Fey race had appeared and gathered here? Otherwise, why would 5 divine lords be here? An old nascent soul cultivator said with a trembling body. I don't think so. Maybe that divine Lord Scorpio has a Dharma artifact with the image imprint, which is extremely important for Han Ming, the sect prince of the Beihan sect. So, all the soul formation cultivators are here this time. Another nascent soul heavenly lord shook his head and narrowed his eyes. He was curious about the secrets hidden in the Dharma artifact. Why were Han Che and the other divine lords so determined to get it? Chapter 1692. In the underground lair, a sky scorpion demon at the nascent soul realm was covered in black scales. It had a ferocious look and protruding fangs. Its long venomous tail flailed in the air like a devil from hell. It brought with it a gust of evil wind. Princess Redjoy conjured a fiery red bracelet. It was a Dharma treasure at the true artifact level. Flames lingered around it, causing space to collapse and obstruct the other demonic soldiers. However, when she faced the nascent soul demon, she immediately turned pale. She exclaimed loudly, "Save me!" The other itinerant cultivators were embroiled in a bitter battle. They could not spare any attention. Just as Princess Redjoy was feeling despair, a sword beam shot out like an icy spirit with a cold aura. It tore through the sky scorpion demon's forehead like a rainbow, bringing with it a bloody mist. Before the bloody mist landed on the ground, it was frozen into ice crystals. His body was also covered in ice crystals. Even his nascent soul and soul were frozen to death. Divine Son Han Che is so powerful. Princess Redjoy felt her mind jolt as she worshipped Han Che even more. She treated him like a god. Immediately, they pushed forward again. Although Golden Core cultivators constantly perished in the group and the battles were perilous, they were getting closer to the Sky Scorpion Hall in the middle. Who was I? So it was that lad Han Che. You sure are gutsy for daring to venture into the vast desert. Suddenly, a demonic aura surged into the sky as a demonic wind blew. The underground city turned dark as the bloodthirsty aura was oppressive. Hundreds of ironback sand wolves rushed over at top speed. Leading them was a soul formation wolf king. It had lustrous green eyes and a ferocious look. It gave off an extremely crazy, ferocious, and bloodthirsty feeling. Phew! At that moment, everyone was alarmed as they came to a halt. They felt repressed and horrified. The ironback sand wolf king's name was Ironkill. He was a notorious soul formation cultivator. He was powerful and had a glorious battle record. It was unknown how many nascent soul cultivators he had killed. Even peak nascent soul cultivators could not withstand a single blow from him. Why is he here? At that moment, even Elder Pan revealed a look of panic. It was as though the Ironback Sand Wolf King's appearance was completely unexpected. Could it be that the intelligence we received did not include this? Jiang Tian was rendered speechless as a dark cloud hung over his head. I am only here to kill Sir God Tian Scorpion. It has nothing to do with you Ironback Sand Wolves. Han Che Shensi took a step forward and said coldly, If you leave now, I will pretend that we have never met. What if I, Lord Wolf, don't retreat? Tai Sha was tall and big, with thick hair sticking out from the gaps in his armor. His eyes were extremely ferocious, filled with a bloodthirsty aura. His bearing was arrogant, and he was like a peerless demon god that looked down upon all living beings in the world. He controlled life and death according to his will, and it was as if the heavens and the earth weren't in his eyes, causing him to speak with disdain and ridicule. He was also a powerful being of the demon race. He had experienced countless battles and slaughtered his way up to the position of one of the 9 great demon gods. He was very domineering and had no intention of backing down. Although Xianxia was very strong and full of aura, Tai Sha's aura was not weaker than his. In fact, it was even stronger. If you don't retreat, Han Che may not be talented, but I can still fight you. Xianxia's eyes flashed with panic before he regained his composure and bellowed softly. In the spirit embryo, the nascent soul suddenly opened its eyes. The surrounding laws rumbled as great Tao fragments floated. He cultivated in laws and great Tao such as frost and frost. At that moment, his exterior manifested as fluttering snowflakes and ice soul snow essence swords. Immediately, the snowflakes fluttered as sword chi lined up eerily. It gave off the feeling that a monstrous killing intent was hidden in the beautiful scenery. Tai Sha, why aren't you retreating? Do you think you can stop us? You have to know that Xianxia is the Xianxia of the Frost North sect. He is favored by Han Ming Zongzi. Princess Redjoy could not help but snort coldly. The moment she spoke, Elder Pan cursed inwardly. His disciple was used to being arrogant and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. She had no idea how terrifying Divine Lord Tai Sha was. Indeed, Divine Lord Tai Sha laughed maniacally. Of all the people you could have used to scare me, you had to use that treacherous Han Ming to scare me. This is Divine Lord Scorpio's lair. I, Tai Lang, am just passing by. I originally wanted to stay out of this and stay high and mighty. But now I've changed my mind. All of you will have to die. Divine Lord Tai Sha, do you really want to be enemies with us? We have a half-step soul formation expert and a few peak nascent soul experts. We might not be afraid of you. Elder Pan roared loudly. He appeared unyielding, but everyone could sense that he was outwardly strong but inwardly weak. We did not have any grudges in the past. Why must we fall out with each other? Fairy Chen, she said coquettishly as she tried to break down Divine Lord Tai Sha's fighting spirit and fighting spirit. We are here to kill Divine Lord Scorpio. It has nothing to do with you. Even if you can escape unscathed, what about your followers and disciples? Many of them are only at the nascent soul and golden core realm. Can't we exchange our lives for theirs? Another peak nascent soul great heavenly lord said coldly. Divine Lord Tai Sha, please reconsider. If not, we can only fight to the death. Another great heavenly lord also adopted an unyielding stance. With me here, all of you still wish to exchange your lives with my disciples? Do you have the right to do so? Do you have the chance? Tai Sha sneered. His eyes flashed with savagery as he suddenly attacked. I can kill all of you by myself. Clang. His attack was too fierce and overbearing. He threw a punch without hesitation. However, the power of this punch was extremely terrifying. The giant tunnel in a 10-mile radius seemed to be filled by this punch. The fist seemed to have become extremely large, giving people the feeling that it was supporting the heavens and the earth, with nowhere to hide. Kill! At this moment, many nascent soul cultivators shouted and flew forward. They unleashed their divine powers and dharma laws, trying to break Tai Sha's terrifying punch. Unfortunately, it was useless. Clang. Dozens of dharma laws were broken by this punch. Tai Sha's punch was extremely fierce and unstoppable. It continued to move forward like a furious demon god. Nobody could resist it. They used earth escape talismans and hid in the walls, in all directions. However, many cultivators were still spurting out blood and their flesh was torn. Dozens of cultivators failed to dodge in time and were reduced to a bloody mist that filled the air. Even their souls were destroyed. The most unfortunate thing was that there were 2 peak nascent soul stage cultivators among them who had perished as well. It hurt so much. Elder Pan's many protective true artifacts exploded from the punch. His body was covered in blood and his spirit embryo had nearly ruptured. His injuries were extremely serious as he cried out in agony incessantly. It's too terrifying. At that moment, Princess Redjoy had escaped into a cave in the branch path. However, she still felt the fist winds blast at her. The terrifying nomological fluctuations caused her protective Yuan Qi barrier and Dharma treasures to crack in a second. She could not help but turn pale in fright. She never expected Tai Sha's strength to be so powerful. The might of his punch was terrifying. This little slut is really incapable of accomplishing anything but is good at spoiling things. At that moment, many female cultivators were pale with fright. Especially Fairy Qianxia, who glared angrily at Princess Redjoy. She planned on finding an opportunity to kill her. Jiang Tian and his wife hid in the shadows with the large black dog as they watched coldly from the sidelines. Darn it! How dare you slaughter my fellow Taoists? Hansh Divine Son stood tall and mighty with an unparalleled might. His black hair fluttered in the wind like a waterfall. Seeing that his side had suffered heavy losses, he was infuriated. Taisha, do you really think a lowly fey cultivator like you can compare with us human cultivators? I call you, Divine Lord Taisha, out of respect. If I don't respect you, you are nothing more than a four-legged beast with fur that has yet to fully evolve. His tiger-like eyes revealed a look of contempt. Although his words were contemptuous, he knew the principle of an eagle using all its strength to hunt a rabbit. He did not hesitate and showed no mercy when he attacked. With a stern bellow, he used his fingers as a sword and waved his hands like he was paddling water. Suddenly, the Ice Soul Snow Essence swords were formed completely from the law of ice. There were a total of 9 swords, and they whistled through the air. The white space was turbulent, and they cut through the sky, splitting space as they shot towards the fist. Chapter 1693. Wherever the Ice Soul Snow Essence swords passed, space would crack and instantly freeze. Everyone felt the chilling frost intent. It was as though their souls had frozen and their thoughts had come to a standstill. They could not help but gasp in amazement. What powerful frost laws! I heard that Hansh Xianxia is a 6th grade nascent soul and his frost laws are extremely condensed. The chances of him reaching the peak of the soul formation realm are extremely high. Now that I've seen it for myself, it is indeed powerful. Hansh Xianxia, beat up that four-legged, long-haired bastard. Hansh Xianxia, all the best. We love you. The male cultivators were slightly better off as they cheered in their hearts. However, Princess Redjoy and the other fangirls were shouting crazily. They were so excited that they looked like they were about to faint. Haha, hubby, you don't have as many female fans as he does. Zhao Xueqing sent a voice transmission with a teasing tone. In fact, she was proud and smug deep down. Jiang Tian's status, cultivation level, strength, and innate talent far exceeded Hansh Xianxia's. It could be said that Hansh Xianxia was not even fit to carry Jiang Tian's shoes. However, Jiang Tian did not have that many female fans. This was not because Jiang Tian lacked charm but because he kept himself clean. He deliberately maintained a distance from female cultivators. These female cultivators could not approach him, so they naturally could not have any fantasies or romantic thoughts. All of them were nipped in the bud. For example, Hansh Xianxia had invited Princess Redjoy to his airship for a chat. It was a seduction. Your hubby is mediocre. He doesn't have the charm of Hansh Xianxia. Jiang Tian pinched Zhao Xueqing's petite hand as he sent a voice transmission. The two's voice transmission was extremely fast and their thoughts were connected. It only took a snap of a finger, but the battle between Hansh and Taisha had already come to an end. Clang! A loud explosion was heard. Hansh Xianxia's 9 Ice Soul Snow Essence swords instantly shattered as countless nomological fragments shot out. As for Taisha's punch, its might did not weaken in the slightest. Instead, it became even faster. It was ferocious and overbearing. It was like a gigantic meteor that tore through the sky with an unstoppable momentum. Under this huge fist, Hansh Xianxia was like an egg under Mount Tai. He looked so small and weak. Facing this terrifying punch, Han Che's expression changed. At this moment, it was impossible for him to dodge or destroy this punch. Penetrating frost shield, freezing 10,000 miles. Hansh Xianxia roared into the sky, and the nascent soul inside his body made the same sound. His eyes flashed with determination as he spat out a mouthful of blood essence. This blood essence revealed the color of snow, and it was crystalline and translucent. It emitted strands of coldness that froze space, and it instantly passed through his body and transformed into fragments of the grand Tao of ice. Clang! A loud sound rang out. They formed a huge shield in the air, trying to block Tai Sha's punch. This shield overflowed with cold air and was covered in frost. It was as if it was carved from a piece of icy jade, but in reality, it was formed from the supreme condensed laws of ice. It was incomparably tough and could freeze space. Xianxia is burning his nascent soul essence and blood. He's going all out. At this moment, Elder Pan and the others became nervous and clenched their fists. I'll definitely be able to block it. How can a mere Tai Sha compare with my Xianxia? Princess Redjoy secretly consoled herself as she cheered him on. However, reality was extremely cruel. Clang, clang. The ice ceiling shield suddenly shattered as if it was made of tofu. Numerous spatial fragments flew around chaotically, and the few mid-stage nascent soul cultivators around them were sliced in half the moment they touched the spatial fragments. They died instantly. The power of the spatial fragments was terrifying. Xianxia was sent flying dozens of kilometers away by the punch. He was deeply embedded in the sand, leaving behind a thin tunnel. During this process, there were countless crisp and pleasant cracking sounds. It was unknown how many pieces of Xianxia's body shattered as blood spewed out like a fountain. He opened his mouth wide as he vomited blood. What? The power of a single punch is that terrifying. Divine Lord Tai Sha is that powerful? At that moment, everyone was dumbfounded. How is this possible? Princess Redjoy, in particular, felt like her worldview was collapsing. Divine Lord Hanch, who was known to be invincible and heaven-defying, was not even a match for Tai Sha? Wasn't Tai Sha too powerful? Xianxia, are you all right? Princess Redjoy's eyes were filled with concern and regret. She wanted to save Hanch but did not dare to. Divine Emperor Taisha had crushed the entire action team with one punch. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Divine Emperor Taisha had the upper hand. Just as he had said, he alone was enough to deal with all the human practitioners at the scene. The disciples and followers behind him did not even need to do anything. There was no response from the whole Xianxia was in for a long time. Moments later, there was a dull thud. Xianxia flew out. But at that moment he was covered in blood. His clothes were tattered and his hair was disheveled. He was in a miserable state. What was even more terrifying was that his cultivation level had fallen from half-step soul formation to nascent soul. This meant that Divine Lord Tai Sha's punch had shattered his spirit embryo and severely injured his half-step god nascent soul. Terrifying. It's too terrifying. At that moment, everyone nearly went mad from shock. We are far from his match. Sigh, we have underestimated the Fey race. We haven't even seen Divine Lord Scorpio. All we have encountered is Tai Sha, who is slightly weaker than Scorpio, and yet we are no match for him. Elder Pan's face was pale from fright. His heart nearly exploded as he trembled and tottered. Hanch, you are no match for me. You have offended me today. How should you be punished? Divine Lord Tai Sha questioned with a sneer. Then, he revealed a look of mockery as he said contemptuously, "Why don't you follow me to my lair in Wolf Hall and be my plaything?" Xianxia's expression was cold as he was caught in a dilemma. He was unwilling to admit defeat. However, he also knew that he was no match for Divine Lord Tai Sha. But if he were to escape, would he be able to? All of a sudden, the communication jade token at his waist flashed. Xianxia scanned it with his divine consciousness and his face immediately became contemptuous. He snorted and said, "I just received news that Ganghua, Mysterious Underworld, Green Miasma, Ta Jian and the other Grand Divine Lords of the Righteous Alliance have arrived. I think Divine Lord Scorpio won't be able to hold on for long if they work together. Are you sure you want to make things difficult for me, instead of running away before they arrive?" Divine Lord Tai Sha's face changed slightly when he heard the names of Ganghua and the other Grand Divine Lords. After he scanned with his divine consciousness and confirmed that it wasn't a lie, his face changed again. I was just sparring with Brother Hanch. I didn't want to kill you. Now that the sparring is over, I will take my leave." Divine Lord Tai Sha was also a man who had traveled across the planet and had survived thousands of battles. He certainly knew how to judge the situation. Once he was no match for Divine Lord Tai Sha, he would immediately flee far away to preserve his strength. Divine Lord Hanch wanted to tease him, but he didn't dare to. After all, if Divine Lord Tai Sha wanted to kill him, it wouldn't take much effort. Maybe 10 flicks of his fingers could do it. He certainly didn't want to lose his life because of a slip of the tongue. Divine Lord Tai Sha glanced at the few beast cultivators of the wolf clan behind him and said, "Take our food and let's go." Chapter 1694. Yes. A few beast cultivators of the wolf clan flashed and disappeared on the spot, entering a wolf palace dozens of miles away. A moment later, they returned. However, they brought along a group of shackled cultivators as captives. Most of these cultivators came from the Big Dipper galaxy and were captured in the battle. Now, they were being used as food by the wolf clan. "Hanch Xianxia, save me." A cry of pain was heard. It was a female cultivator among the captives. Her clothes were ragged, revealing her snowy skin. She was quite pretty, especially her long legs. She was definitely a first-level nascent soul cultivator. Although her cultivation wasn't very high, considering that she was only in her 50s, it was still very shocking. "Qing Tan, it's you." Hanch Xianxia's expression changed and he couldn't help but take a step forward. "Let her go." The others also changed their expressions, full of regret and anger. They all took a step forward. That woman was called Qing Tan, one of Hanch's maids, but she had gone missing during the battle on Earth. Everyone thought she had died in the battle, but they had never thought that she would fall into the hands of Tai Sha and be bullied like this. She would even become his food in the future. "Huh, so you're one of Hanch Xianxia's people. No wonder you're so fresh and delicious. What? Are you going to stop me?" "Very well, I want to fight with all of you. Come on." Tai Sha's hairy claws grabbed the air and pulled Qing Tan over. His huge claws grabbed her neck like an eagle grabbing a chick. His barbed tongue licked her face, scraping off a layer of flesh and leaving bloody scars as he said provocatively, "Get out of the way. Otherwise you'll all become my food." Tai Sha yelled and his energy exploded. Dao fragments floated and all kinds of Dharma laws rumbled. The cultivators couldn't help but take a step back. She pulled Hanch Xianxia and said with her immortal will, "Xianxia, bear with it for a while and calm down. It's not worth risking your life for a woman." Then, most of the cultivators were shaken. Tai Sha was too powerful. A soul formation divine lord could crush everyone with one punch. Cultivators seemed to be detached from worldly affairs, like immortals or Buddhas, but in fact, they cherished their lives the most. In terms of loyalty, they might not be inferior to mortals. After all, they'd experienced all sorts of hardships and painstakingly climbed the long path towards immortality, and it was all for the sake of obtaining eternal life. As for the cultivators of the ruins of immortality, they were unafraid of death. That was a special situation. After all, they were facing a world-ending calamity, and the war with Jiang Tian involved the survival of civilization. Moreover, even though Tai Sha had captured Qing Tan, she might not necessarily die. If they captured captives related to Tai Sha in the later battles, they could exchange hostages. Tai Sha, give your brother some face and don't kill her. Qing Tan, bear with it. Give me some time. I will definitely save you. Hanch Xianxia gritted his teeth, covered his face, and stepped back. Hanch Xianxia, they won't let me go. They'll eat me. Qing Tan's heart was filled with despair. Tears streamed down her face as she wailed loudly. Fairy Qing Tan, just bear with it for a few days. Hanch Xianxia will definitely save you. Princess Rejoi's eyes were slightly red, but she knew that the disparity in strength between the two parties was too great. There was nothing she could do about it. As for Elder Pan Sheng, he originally looked boorish and valiant, but at that moment he was smiling obsequiously. He bowed slightly and said, "Farewell, Divine Lord Tai Sha." It was as though he was a grandson. At that moment, "Let her go, or you will die." A figure stood in front of Divine Lord Tai Sha. Everyone looked up in astonishment. They saw Jiang Tian standing in front of Divine Lord Taisha, raising his hand to point at a female cultivator in the crowd. The female cultivator had delicate features, but her face was covered in dust and she was covered in wounds. She was only at the first level of the Golden Core realm, and she wore the tattered uniform of the Wuxia League of Guardians. She was already on the verge of death, and her head was lowered. Clearly, she was a native cultivator from Earth. "Senior, don't bother about me." The girl had her head lowered in the beginning, but when she heard Jiang Tian's words, she suddenly looked up and shouted with tears in her eyes. "It's Qing Lulu." Only then did Zhao Xueqing notice this woman. Recognizing her identity, she let out a cry of surprise. Qing Lulu and Jiang Tian had some ties. She was the younger sister of Qing Tian, a member of the Huaxia Long formation. As for Qing Tian, she had once received personal guidance from Jiang Tian. Later, Qing Tian sacrificed herself in the snowy lands of the Great Xing'an mountain range during a battle to intercept the Snow Empire's martial grandmaster, Xiao Bin. Qing Lulu inherited her sister's final wish and joined the Huaxia Long formation to protect Huaxia and serve her motherland. The Long formation was later transformed into the Huaxia League of Guardians. Jiang Tian even gave her the Three Pure Ones Foundation establishment art when the League of Guardians was established. After the awakening of Spirit Qi, Qing Lulu was one of the first batch of warriors to reach the peak of the Soul Formation realm, which was also the peak of the Qi Refinement realm. And when Zhao Xueqing intercepted Divine General Tian Mu's expeditionary army, this girl had already stood out. She had reached the second level of the Foundation establishment realm and was brave in battle. She did not take a step back and made illustrious military achievements. She became Ying Su's right-hand woman. Zhao Xueqing also liked and thought highly of her. She had given her guidance and commendation many times and even allowed her to enter Tianqing school as a third-generation disciple. She never expected that in just a year, she would successfully form her core. She never expected that she would be held captive by the demons and subjected to all sorts of humiliation. How could Zhao Xueqing not be angry? Release her. If not, all of you will die. Zhao Xueqing took a step into the air and bellowed with a murderous aura. "What are you doing? Are you mad?" Princess Redjoy took a step forward and berated them sternly. "You're just a few ants. Who gave you the right to speak?" No one was willing to let the captive be taken away, but what could they do? If they tried to stop them, they would only be wiped out. It was supposed to be a temporary peace of mind, but Jiang Tian's interference had angered Divine Lord Taisha. Everyone was implicated. "Two ants from Earth want me to die?" Divine Lord Taisha's demonic green eyes spewed flames of anger as he said disdainfully. The werewolves were proud and aloof. He was already displeased with Divine Sun Hansh's attempt to stop them. Now, two ant-like cultivators from Earth had jumped out. He could not help but be enraged. "Don't you know how ferocious I, Divine Lord Taisha, am? Ants." Zhao Xueqing's face was frosty as she sneered and said, "In my eyes, you are the ants. When did the humans of Earth become existences that can be bullied by fey beasts like you? Kneel down and submit, or die." The moment that was said, there was an uproar as everyone looked at Zhao Xueqing and Jiang Tian as though they were lunatics. "Goddamn Earth cultivators, why aren't you listening to my orders? If you have a death wish, don't drag us down with you." At that moment, Elder Pan Xing was on the brink of tears. He wished he could slap himself a few times. Originally, he had thought that Jiang Tian and company were quite capable after killing two nascent Soul Realm Fey cultivators from Huangfan. Therefore, he had teamed up with Jiang Tian and his wife to use them as cannon fodder. Who knew that the two people and the dog would be so crafty? They had been slacking the entire time and were unharmed. Even more unexpected was that Jiang Tian and his wife would cause trouble. They had provoked Divine Lord Taisha's peerless might for a captive of their race. He was truly frightened by the situation before him. If it was just a small conflict before, then Jiang Tian and his wife's attitude was like smacking Divine Lord Taisha in the face. This mighty figure of the Fey race was ruthless and unscrupulous. How could he hold back? Chapter 1695. By the side, Princess Redjoy and Fairy Chen she were pale in fright as they trembled. Han Che even glared at Elder Pan Sheng a few times as he sent a voice transmission. How did you lead the team? Didn't you instruct them to follow orders? Haha, you want me to kneel? Indeed, Divine Lord Taisha was enraged. He laughed strangely and said, across the entire Big Dipper star system, how many people are worthy of me, Divine Lord Taisha, kneeling? I'm not even afraid of those high and mighty sect masters or lords of stellar domains. What's more, ants like you? Little bitches, just based on what you have said today, none of you in this team will survive. I'll bite you to death one bite at a time and eat your flesh. The moment he said that, the many sand wolf fey cultivators scattered and surrounded the group. We're doomed. Upon hearing that, Princess Redjoy closed her eyes in despair. She knew that a huge battle was unavoidable. It was definitely going to erupt. As she conjured a red bracelet to block in front of her, she cursed angrily, idiots! Why do you like to show off? Can't you see that even Hanch Divine Son is no match for Divine Lord Taisha? What kind of waves can you two small fries cause? Yuan Jiankong's face was as white as a sheet as he said, Princess Redjoy, what do we do? Quickly save them. Are you a fool? Save them? How are you going to save them? Princess Redjoy glared at him and reprimanded him, exasperated at his failure to live up to her expectations. They are mere nascent soul cultivators, but they insist on courting death. They insist on striking a rock with an egg. Who can they blame? They are courting death and they insist on dragging us down with them. Even if we can escape unscathed, we will kill the two of them and the dog to punish them for their insubordination. Tai Kuang, kill them! Divine Lord Taisha bellowed authoritatively. The flesh and blood of earthlings is the sweetest. Today, I will kill all of you and drink your hot blood to my heart's content. A wolf great demon at the half-step soul formation realm walked forward with a sinister grin. He held a supreme-grade true artifact, the wolf Fong Saber. He had a long scar on his face and his ferocious gaze made him look like a maniac. It made Princess Redjoy's face turn pale. Tai Kuang. He was the most powerful warrior under Divine Emperor Taisha. He was cruel and crazy and had once exterminated billions of creatures on a planet. He was a famous interstellar butcher in the Big Dipper star zone. He was said to be invincible under the soul formation realm. Many large sects didn't dare to offend him. Suddenly, his figure swayed and turned into an afterimage as he slashed out with his saber. Immediately, Dharma laws rumbled and violent blade intent swept out, intimidating the divine soul, suppressing the mind and damaging the body. The sky within 10 miles was crushed. Even a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator wouldn't be able to withstand that slash and would be minced into pieces. Retreat. Many cultivators, including Hanch Xianxia, quickly retreated and put up their Dharma shields, fearing that they would be caught in the crossfire. Yuan Jiankong was so scared that his face turned pale. He exclaimed, "Fellow Taoist, get out of the way." Unexpectedly, at this moment, Jiang Tian actually turned around and gave him a nonchalant smile. It's all right. A mere half-step soul formation stage cultivator is a piece of cake for me. With that said, Jiang Tian's right hand pointed in the air, and a Gingjin finger light broke through the air. The Dharma laws created by the Wolf Fong blade were all shattered. It was like a piece of paper, unable to withstand a single blow. What? Tai Kuang's expression changed drastically. His heart was filled with alarms, and his fur stood on end. His slash could easily kill a peak-stage nascent soul cultivator or a normal half-step soul formation cultivator, but that ordinary-looking cultivator from Earth had shattered it with a finger. He's using a supreme-grade Dharma law. He's invincible under the soul formation stage. Retreat. Divine Lord Taisha's pupils contracted as if he had seen the most unbelievable thing. Watch out for my stick. While speaking with his immortal will, he had already dashed forward and shielded Tai Kuang behind him. He then took out a Wolf Fong club and smashed it down. Clang. This strike caused the laws to rumble. It was as if Mount Tai was collapsing, as if a meteor was crashing down, striking the ground. It could be said that its might was boundless. Many of the reinforcing runes in the underground lair were obliterated and large areas collapsed. In the end, this strike forcefully smashed onto the finger light. But everything was useless. Tai Kuang's mace, which could be called a quasi-saint weapon, was shattered like a piece of tofu. Blood flowed out of Tai Kuang's perlicue. Then the cracks spread all over his body. His muscle fibers flew out, and he was sent flying dozens of miles away like a spinning top. The trajectory of the Gung Goldfinger ray didn't change at all, as if it was an ancient and eternal supreme heavenly Tao of the universe. It streaked across the sky and pierced through Tai Kuang's spirit embryo, causing his nascent soul to explode with a bang along with his corporeal body, turning into a rain of sparkling and translucent flesh that rained down. Subsequently, the seventh Goldfinger light drew an irregular curve in the air, and it was dazzling and blazing like a shooting star and swift like a bolt of lightning. Bang, 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 bang. Amidst rapid explosive sounds, the 100 wolf demons that were escorting Cheng Tian were completely annihilated by the finger light, and large pieces of their corpses and remains fell to the ground. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves. Cheng Lulu only felt that the scene in front of her changed rapidly. Then she felt something heavy on her waist and there was a warm current in her danton. She had already flown to Zhao Xueqing like a swallow returning to the forest. Zhao Xueqing put her hand on her waist and used the special true essence of the stainless phoenix fairy body to heal her injured dantian and body. Mistress, Senior Tu has he become so powerful? Cheng Lulu felt as if she were dreaming and exclaimed with tears in her eyes. She didn't understand at first, but later she figured it out. When Jiang Tian left Earth, he was only a golden core cultivator. Even though he could defeat Demon King Gu Hu of the Tungu's Demon Lake, who was a nascent soul cultivator, he barely managed to do so. Besides, Gu Hu had been sleeping in the Tungu's Demon Lake for many years and his blood had already dried up. He was only a weakling among the nascent soul cultivators. In her opinion, after only 4 years, Jiang Tian was only a nascent soul cultivator or even a peak-stage golden core cultivator. How could he be a match for Tai Sha, a soul formation grand cultivator? Who would have thought that Jiang Tian's strength had actually become so heaven-defying? Thus, he can kill soul formation cultivators like killing dogs now. Zhao Xueqing smiled proudly. Great. That's great. Cheng Lulu cried and trembled. She didn't know if it was because she was still scared or because she was too excited. Lu, don't be sad. Zhao Xueqing gently stroked Cheng Lulu's hair as a cold glint flashed across her eyes. She said in a serious tone, the humiliation and pain that they brought to you, we will definitely return it to them 100-fold, 1,000-fold. Cheng Lulu nodded and didn't say anything else. She stood behind Jiang Tian and his wife. Seeing this, he's so powerful. He severely injured a soul formation cultivator with 1 finger and killed a half-step soul formation cultivator and 100 nascent soul cultivators. That's too terrifying. Princess Red Joy and the others were in disbelief, as if they had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Jiang Tian and his wife's performance was very ordinary. It was as if they were idling. Everyone thought that they were only nascent soul cultivators or golden core cultivators. At this time, Jiang Tian's performance gave them the feeling that they originally thought that he was just a weak little rabbit that could be bullied, but with a shake of his body, he turned into a starry sky divine beast that could devour the heavens and earth. That's too powerful. Yuan Jiankong's face was full of shock and admiration as he became spirited. How can there be such a powerful cultivator among the natives of Earth? Why have I never heard of him? He's too powerful. The other cultivators were fascinated and wished they could be in his place. How is that possible? Han Shenxi's pupils contracted. Jiang Tian was undoubtedly a nascent soul cultivator, but he had displayed combat strength comparable to a soul formation cultivator. That was rare even in the Big Dipper constellation. Even in the Big Dipper constellation, only the supreme grade or sacred grade nascent soul cultivators of the top divine sects and immortal sacred grounds could do so. Such existences were all soul formation cultivators. They were rare geniuses that only appeared once every 10,000 years. The sects or families behind them would pour all their resources into nurturing and supporting them. Chapter 1696. Congratulations, Elder Pan. You've found a powerful helper. If Hanch Divine Prince can recruit him, even Han Ming Zongzi will reward you handsomely. Chen Shi Fairy said with her immortal will, but there was a hint of jealousy in her eyes as she looked at Elder Pan. Elder Pan was really lucky this time. He actually got acquainted with such a powerful cultivator from Earth. He probably didn't even think about it. Pan Sheng, what's his name? Elder Pan was quite smug, but Hanch Divine Prince didn't smile at all. Instead, he looked a bit cautious and said with his immortal will, Divine Prince, he said his name is Kong Teichu. Pan Sheng answered truthfully. It's him. He came back alive. Hanch Divine Prince's face changed and he looked extremely shocked, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. Divine Sense voice transmission was like the birth and death of a thought. It was extremely fast, and the transmission of the above information took no more than a flick of a finger. Then, Divine Lord Tai Sha finally stabilized himself on the battlefield. He was furious when he saw that many of his followers had died. Seeing that Jiang Tian was about to attack, Tai Sha quickly calmed himself down and cupped his fists slightly. He lowered his head and said in a trembling voice, Senior, please wait. I have something to report. You killed my compatriots, so of course I have to kill you. Do you have any last words? Speak. Jiang Tian said coldly. Senior, I know that I've killed many people. Since you've returned, I won't be able to escape death. Tai Sha raised his head and said in a tone that was neither servile nor overbearing, however, I'm worried that you don't know who the real enemy is and who the mastermind behind the war between the Beidou demon clan and the creatures on Earth is. It will be too late for you to regret it in the future. So, I'd like to tell you everything. A man's words are good when he's about to die. Tell me, Jiang Tian said. In fact, the reason why the Big Dipper demon clan attacked Earth was because of the alliance of justice and order. Tai Sha said with a hint of grief and indignation. You're slandering me. Do you think that with Senior Tai Chu's wisdom, he would listen to your sowing discord? Hanch Shensi stepped forward and retorted. He then bowed to Jiang Tian and said, Senior Tai Chu, Tai Sha once committed a heinous crime on Earth. He's doing this for... Shut up. Did I ask you a question? Jiang Tian's face turned cold. With a flick of his sleeve, his temperament suddenly changed. At this moment, a massive pressure descended from the sky as if a continent was pressing down. Hanch Shensi could not withstand it at all. His bones creaked as if they were about to shatter. He had never felt such a terrifying pressure, not even from Han Ming Zongzi. Whether or not he is trying to sow discord, I have my own judgment. Do I need you to remind me? Jiang Tian took a step forward, and his gaze was calm and indifferent. It was like the boundless, deep and eternally unmoving sky that looked down upon the vicissitudes of life and stood above the myriad of worlds. Han Che suddenly felt as if he was facing an unparalleled god. His heart trembled and his soul felt like it was about to shatter. He subconsciously took a step back. How can a cultivator from Earth be so powerful? Hanch Shensi screamed in his heart. He quickly bowed and apologized in an extremely humble tone. I know I was wrong. Please don't blame me. Please ask. Jiang Tian no longer paid attention to him. He looked at Tai Sha and slightly nodded, indicating that he could continue. The monsters have always been inferior to humans. They once fought with human cultivators for tens of thousands of years in order to obtain a place to live. Tai Sha said, but a few years ago, Han Ming Zongzi and the others suddenly found a grand cultivator of the monsters and provided a piece of news. They claimed that Planet East, which is also Earth, had an abundance of spirit chi and was very suitable for the monsters to live in. So, you came to Earth to start a massacre? Jiang Tian said. Not exactly. Tai Sha said, we don't know the situation on Earth. Who knows if Han Ming Zongzi is telling the truth? Besides, a space voyage 100 light-years away is dangerous, even for a soul formation grand monster. So, we didn't want to. At that time, Han Ming Zongzi proposed that as long as the monsters could occupy Earth, they would be able to get the rights to the Earth territory. The demons would also obtain the right to reside in the Big Dipper constellation. They would allocate 3 spiritual chi stars for the demons to reside in. But if we didn't take action, they would carry out a policy of extermination and expand the war. Besides, Han Ming Zongzi also gave us some information, saying that the monsters on Earth such as the wolves were slaughtered by humans. We should fight for the rights of the roots of the demon race. We only set off for the solar system after being threatened and tempted. We turned into human forms and sneaked into Earth. We didn't see the Earth cultivators slaughtering the monsters, nor did we find any related precedents. The monsters and humans lived in harmony. But immediately, we and the monsters on Earth were ambushed by the human cultivators on Earth and suffered heavy losses. The monsters had no choice but to take action, and a war broke out between the two sides. But later, we found out that the human cultivators on Earth who attacked the demons and the so-called orthodoxies on Earth were all backed by the Big Dipper human clan. In other words, we were used by Han Ming Zongzi and the others. This war had always been controlled by Han Ming and the others. But then, the conflict between the Beidou monsters and the Earth civilization was irreconcilable. Wars broke out one after another and no one could stop them. At the same time, Han Ming Zongzi led the Beihan sect to join forces with the banished Immortal Palace, the Wuji sect and the Feiyang sect to form the Righteous Alliance in the name of saving the creatures on Earth and fighting against the Beidou monsters. Jiang Tian looked calm and said with a hint of mockery, "If that's the case, Han Ming Zongzi is indeed a genius. Even if the invaders were powerful, the invaded civilizations would never be on the same side as them. As long as one of them was alive, they would have resentment and resistance. The appearance of a savior would eliminate the hostility and disintegrate the will to resist. The civilizations that have been invaded will even be deeply grateful and worship them as deities." Senior Taichu is wise. "That's true," Tai Sha said. The representative of the monster race who contacted Han Ming Zongzi was Divine Lord Scorpio. But what Han Ming Zongzi didn't expect was that Divine Lord Scorpio didn't completely trust him. He used a Dharma artifact to record evidence of Han Ming's order and the alliance between the two sides. Right now, the Beidou demon clan has cleared the obstacles on Earth, but Divine Lord Han Ming reaped the benefits without expending a single soldier. He took over the cultivation world on Earth and called himself the Ancestral Lord. He's high and mighty. On the other hand, the Earth civilization and the Beidou demon clans suffered heavy losses. Divine Lord Scorpio and the other mighty figures of the monster race were furious, so they planned to announce the content of the Dharma artifact on Earth so that the cultivation civilization on Earth would know the truth and fight against the evil Beidou monsters. But the news was leaked. So many mighty figures of the monster race came to kill us today. Jiang Tian nodded and said, "Are you done?" Senior, Divine Lord Tai Sha panicked when he felt Jiang Tian's murderous intent. Chapter 1697. However, Divine Lord Taisha was a mighty figure of the demon race after all. He had been through countless battles and his mental strength was extremely powerful. He immediately calmed down and racked his brains to convince Jiang Tian. He cupped his fist and said, "Senior, you now understand that the Big Dipper demon race is being used and bewitched. The main culprit is the Righteous Alliance led by Han Ming and company. I believe that an ambitious figure like Senior Grand Primordium should be able to distinguish right from wrong and make a rational choice." He said with a face full of joy, "Taoist Grand Primordium's dermic powers are powerful. You can fight soul formation cultivators with your nascent soul cultivation. Now that you have broken out of seclusion, if you join forces with the Big Dipper demon race, you will definitely be able to turn the tide and sweep the despicable Big Dipper humans out of Earth, returning peace to the world." Upon hearing this, the expressions of many Big Dipper human cultivators changed slightly as they became nervous. Princess Redjoy even shrank behind Hanch, her eyes filled with fear. As for Hanch Shensi, his body tensed up as though he was facing a great enemy. His spirit embryo trembled slightly as snow soul and ice essence laws floated around his body, ready to be unleashed. Taisha alone was terrifying enough. If Jiang Tian joined forces with him, killing everyone would be as easy as chopping vegetables. So this Kong Teichu is the original paragon of Earth's cultivation world. Why did I bring this god of slaughter with me? At that moment, Elder Pan came to a realization. He broke out in cold sweat as his body trembled. The name of Kong Teichu. Of course, they had heard of it before, but they did not take it to heart. After all, Jiang Tian was only a paragon of the cultivation world on a planet with life. There were tens of thousands of such existences in the Big Dipper constellation. That was because there were too many planets with life. Each of the 7 stars was surrounded by hundreds of planets with life. Furthermore, the Tao teachings on Earth had just been born. The highest cultivation level was only at the nascent soul realm, and there were very few of them. There were only a few of them. How could they think highly of them? Most importantly, when Elder Pan heard Jiang Tian introduce himself for the first time, he did not connect him with Kong Teichu, who had not appeared on Earth for 4 years and whose status was unknown. However, Jiang Tian was the leader of the Earth's Mythology Alliance. Now that the Mythology Alliance had suffered heavy losses under Han Ming Zongzi's control, the Earth's indigenous cultivation orthodoxy was in danger. How could he sit back and do nothing? I'm afraid a great battle is bound to break out. Although I'm not talented, I'm still one of the 9 Sir Gods of the Demon Clan. My words carry some weight among the Demon Clan. Then, Divine Lord Tai Sha said patiently, if Senior Tai Chu lets me go this time, I'm willing to work for you. I'll mediate with the Beidou Demon Clan on behalf of Senior Tai Chu, and will respect Senior Tai Chu as the supreme cultivator on Earth. I am the supreme cultivator of this planet. Do I need you to run around and call for me? Jiang Tian revealed a faint smile. Suddenly, a girl's slender and fair hand reached out and flicked her finger. A dazzling golden light shot out from her finger. How dare you? Divine Lord Tai Sha was enraged. A red bead in the bracelet on his wrist suddenly exploded and turned into layers of red Dharma runes, forming a shield to stop Jiang Tian's finger. That was a talisman he had made with the blood of billions of creatures on a planet with life. It seemed inconspicuous, but it was extremely powerful and indestructible. It was a supreme-grade Taoist artifact, comparable to a quasi-sacred weapon. The finger aura hit it and tore 8 layers apart. In the end, it collapsed like an arrow at the end of its flight. Senior, although you're powerful, you can't do it alone. You need the help of the Demon Clan. Please think twice. Sir God Tai Sha's eyes widened as he shouted desperately, trying to dispel Jiang Tian's murderous intent. At the same time, he activated his blood essence shield while riding a ray of light. He turned into a long rainbow and headed towards the underground tunnel on the left. You're just a bunch of stupid and cruel animals. Do I need your help? You think too highly of yourself? It's too late to run away. Jiang Tian swayed his body and used the Kunpeng's extreme speed. The golden Kunpeng divine law created a beam of golden light in the sky, as if it were splitting the chaos and separating yin and yang. It suddenly crossed dozens of miles and arrived behind Divine Emperor Tai Sha. He then performed the sea-calming divine law and froze the dimension. Suddenly, a supreme divine forbidden realm was formed, which was comparable to a soul formation stage territory. Divine Lord Tai Sha was like a mosquito trapped in amber. He couldn't even move a finger. Senior, do you really want to die? Stop him. Divine Sovereign Tai Sha roared angrily, and his eyes were about to split open. The god in his body roared like thunder. Blood chi surged out from his divine treasures and turned into blood essence precepts that poured into the shield. Instantly, the runes on the shield shone brightly, and the smell of blood soared into the sky. Do you think you're worthy of dying with me? Do you think you can stop me with this? Jiang Tian laughed coldly and used his finger as a sword. A Nirvana void-breaking saber technique chopped down from the sky. Bang bang bang. All the blood essence beads on Sir God Tai Sha's wrist exploded and turned into 81 blood essence shields, which were extremely solid and heavy. Divine Lord Tai Sha had also used up half of his blood essence. He was confident that he could hold on for a while, even if a peak soul formation realm cultivator attacked him. However, he was also distressed. Those 9 blood pearls were made after he killed a few planets with life outside the Big Dipper, and it took him 500 years to make them. He wouldn't use them unless he was in a life-and-death situation. But then, he had used up all of them, which meant that he had lost his Dharma artifact. It would be difficult for him to make more in the future. Ignorant kid. You're reckless and you don't know how to unite the majority. As long as I don't die this time, I'll go deep into the star ocean and work with the grand cultivators of the monster race. I'll return to the solar system and tear you and Han Ming to pieces. Humans are cunning and cruel, not as simple as the monster race. Divine Emperor Taisha's demonic vertical pupils shone with a green light, and he looked extremely resentful. He was one of the 9 famous monster gods in the Big Dipper system after all. When had he ever suffered such grievances? He had been tricked by Han Ming, the Zongzi of the Beihan sect. Then, a local from Planet East had killed all his disciples and followers and was chasing after him. He didn't even have a chance to surrender. That was a great humiliation. Even Han Ming might have given him a chance if he had met him. You're just like an ant. Jiang Tian turned a deaf ear to Divine Lord Taisha's threats. He slashed at him with the quietus blade, as if he were cutting water with a knife. Divine Lord Taisha looked in disbelief, desperation, unwillingness, and fear. The layers of blood shields, which were strong enough to stop a soul formation realm cultivator's attack, were cut open easily, as if they were butter in front of a sharp blade. Then, the quietus blade cut him in half from head to toe, together with his body, divine treasures, deities, and divine soul. Chapter 1698. How dare you kill me? Bam. At the instant his body, deity, divine treasures, and divine soul exploded, Divine Lord Taisha's furry face was filled with disbelief. His eyes were widened in shock. He was one of the 9 divine lords of the Fey race. He was the leader of the Fey race alliance. Although he was at a disadvantage against the powerful Big Dipper humans, he was not even afraid of Han Ming Zongzi in a one-on-one battle. His strength was not something any faction on Planet Central was willing to provoke. After all, if all the Fey race were to attack together to seek revenge on a particular faction on Earth, it would be as easy as crushing dry weeds. Furthermore, he was a soul formation mighty figure with impressive strength. If Jiang Tian was rational, he would have used this opportunity to subdue him. However, he did not expect that Jiang Tian would kill him so decisively, without the slightest hesitation. By the side, Hanch Shensi was trembling in fright. The other cultivators were also pale as they kept quiet out of fear. Jiang Tian had killed a Fey race divine lord with a simple slash of his fingers. It was a heaven-defying technique that left them completely stunned. Is what Taisha said true? Jiang Tian flicked his fingers and turned his head to look at Hanch Shensi as he questioned coldly. Hanch Shensi gave a wry smile as he bowed and cupped his fists. Senior, please allow me to report. You think too highly of me. This is a secret plot at the level of a Zongzi. I'm only a Shensi and have no access to such top-notch secrets. I really do not know the inside story. Let me search your soul and examine your divine soul. Jiang Tian said indifferently with his hands behind his back. His aura was domineering and overbearing. Hanch Shensi's expression stiffened as he felt extremely unwilling. This kid sure is overbearing. Does he still treat us as humans? The others, especially Princess Redjoy, revealed looks of displeasure and resentment. Soul searching had always been a taboo in the cultivation world. Once one's soul was searched, it was akin to a cultivator being stripped naked and having their entire body examined. All secrets would be exposed. For those who had their souls searched, it was a great humiliation, second only to signing a master-servant soul contract and becoming someone's servant. Even a master would not use such a method against a disciple or a junior. After all, everyone had their own secrets and dignity. What? Do you still want to resist? Either you die under my blade, or I search your soul. You choose. Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent. His tone was very calm, like an ancient well without ripples. He used his fingers as a blade and placed them in front of his chest. Instantly, the Nirvana void-splitting blade was faintly discernible. The Kunpeng law tore through space, terrifying to the extreme. Xianxia felt a chill in his heart. He took a step forward, relaxed his mind, and removed all his mental defenses. He smiled bitterly and said, "I didn't hide anything from you, and I've always been open and aboveboard. What's wrong with letting you search my soul? Please." Jiang Tian nodded indifferently. Without another word, the hell-suppressing demon god's consciousness burst out and quickly scanned the area. However, everything was as Xianxia had said. He really didn't know anything about it. He only followed Han Ming's order and went to Earth to resist the Beidou demon race. "You really don't know." Jiang Tian retracted his consciousness and said, "However, if it's proven that Han Ming planned all of this one day, you should cut ties with him. Otherwise, I'll kill you." "Senior, I believe that all of this is Tai Sha trying to sow discord. Please understand," Xianxia hurriedly said. "You don't have to say anything. I'll find out everything myself." Jiang Tian didn't say another word. With a flick of his sleeve, he brought Zhao Xueqing, Qing Lulu, and the large black dog along with him. Using the extreme speed of the Kunpeng, they tore through space and rushed towards the depths of the underground lair. Everyone stood there in a daze and didn't come back to their senses for a long time. This was especially true for Elder Panxing, who felt as if he was dreaming. He thought that he had randomly picked up an Earth cultivator as cannon fodder. Who knew that he would erupt with the combat strength of a soul formation expert? Who would have thought that he was the paragon of Earth's cultivation world, Kong Teichu? Kong Teichu was originally the leader of Earth's Myth Alliance. However, when the Myth Alliance faced the demon race from the other realm, some died in battle, some surrendered, some left, and some even betrayed him. I'm afraid that his return this time will set off monstrous waves. "Fairy Chen," she said in a low voice with a grave expression on her pretty face. "If what Tai Sha said is true, he will probably fight the Righteous Alliance to the death. All of us will have to face such a monstrous fiend celestial." Elder Panxing said, still recovering from his shock. "Who does he think he is? He's just a native of Middle Saturn. How can he be a match for Han Ming and company?" Only Princess Redjoy snorted coldly in disdain. Along the way, she had been mocking and suppressing Jiang Tian. However, Jiang Tian didn't retort at all. In the end, he had unleashed terrifying combat strength that left her no match for him. Even she felt that she was blind and had been slapped in the face by Jiang Tian. Therefore, she found Jiang Tian an eyesore. "Bastard. You are clearly powerful, but you didn't retort. Do you think I'm a fool?" She was feeling depressed, but her expression was one of pride. Her eyebrows were arched as she mocked. "Today, there are too many fellow Taoists present." Xianxia is afraid that he would be implicated if he were to take action, so he refrained from going all out. If not, how could that arrogant person still be alive? However, not many people agreed with her. Xianxia could only give a wry smile. Many cultivators felt their hearts sink as they found the situation rather thorny. In the past, they might not have thought much of Jiang Tian. After all, he was only a hegemon of the Earth world. The cultivation techniques he used were likely inferior. It was just like how aristocrats and celebrities looked at a country bumpkin. Even if you were decked out in gold and silver, in their eyes, you would be laughable and ignorant. But now, Jiang Tian had killed Divine Lord Taisha with his saber. It gave off a completely different feeling. At that moment, the combat strength Jiang Tian had displayed might still be inferior to a Zongzi like Han Ming, but ordinary soul formation cultivators were no match for him. "Should we report this matter to Xianxia?" Princess Redjoy asked with a voice transmission. "No, we can't." Xianxia jumped in fright. Kong Teichu was no fool. He had searched Xiaxia's soul before letting him go. He must have set up an extremely brilliant spiritual perception mark to monitor Xiaxia's every move. If Xianxia were to spread the news, he would probably explode Xiaxia's soul immediately. Today's encounter with Kong Teichu is not to be leaked. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. Xianxia was very worried as he scanned the crowd and bellowed sternly. We understand. Everyone nodded. Let's go to the depths of the lair. Xianxia ordered as he felt extremely depressed. Kong Teichu had gone straight to the root of the problem. It was clear that he wanted to find Divine Lord Scorpio, who had personally experienced it, to confirm his guess. He was also determined to obtain Divine Lord Scorpio's imprint. However, Xianxia had no choice but to go to Scorpio's main hall and put on an act. If Xianxia learned that he had not done his best, he would be punished. I hope he meets Divine Lord Astral Fire and the other mighty figures and perishes immediately. Suddenly, Xiaxia's eyes flickered as he clenched his fists. Chapter 1699. The underground lair was vast and majestic. It was filled with tall buildings and tunnels that extended in all directions. It was like a majestic city. It was originally a vast desert, but it was called the vast ocean, which showed how vast it was. The yellow sand used to be soft, but it became extremely stable after being strengthened by runes and arrays. It formed all kinds of buildings and streets. In the past, this place was prosperous and was an important place for the monsters. But then, it had become a sea of blood. Too many monsters had died and their limbs were piled up like mountains. All kinds of Dharma artifacts and weapons were stuck in the sand. There were marks of swords and sabers everywhere. Fire was everywhere and smoke rose to the sky. The demonic beasts that occupied this area were almost wiped out. The buildings collapsed one after another and the roads were destroyed. There were even terrifying collapses because of the runes and arrays. Pieces of desert poured down, burying and destroying everything. It was like the end of the world. Bang! Along with a terrifying sound, in the most magnificent palace in the area, Sky Scorpion Palace, blood spurted out. As streams of blood spurted out, a terrifying wound suddenly caved in on the chest of a mighty and majestic figure that seemed to be made of fine iron. His divine treasures were penetrated by sharp treasured swords and almost shattered. The god had already suffered heavy injuries. Clang! He fell onto a stone chair, covered in blood and burn marks. He was surrounded by the poison Dharma laws and was already severely injured. As one of the 9 divine lords of the monsters, he wasn't weak at all. He looked furious and glanced at the 4 soul formation grand cultivators in front of him. He sighed and said, "If you didn't sneak up on me, I might not have lost to you even if you worked together. You're despicable. Sky Scorpion, you're too childish." Divine Lord Astral Fire had white hair and a kind face. He was wearing a robe embroidered with the flames of the sun. He looked strict and sage-like, like a deity who had descended to the world. He naturally gave people a sense of intimacy. His magic energy was deep and profound, and the laws of astral fire revolved around his body. Golden flames raged and emitted a blazing and dazzling light, like the sun that soared across the sky, burning the surrounding space to the point of crackling, distorting, and collapsing endlessly. He smiled kindly as if he was teaching a child. "This is a war. You can use any means." That's right. The human race has always been cunning. They are not as honest as the demon race. Sky Scorpion coughed up blood, looking extremely miserable. "I was too stupid and was used by Han Ming as a tool. Not only did they fail to find a new place to live on Earth, but they also caused the demons to suffer heavy losses. They even lost their territory in the Big Dipper constellation." This was a fierce battle. Although Scorpio's situation was tragic, Astral Fire Divine Lord and company had also suffered quite a bit. They had originally sent out 5 Divine Lords to capture Divine Lord Scorpio, but during the battle, a Divine Lord named Chao Qing had been killed by Divine Lord Scorpio. Although the other 4 Sir Gods did not perish, they were, in fact, severely injured. They had paid a certain price. That's right. Hanming Zongzi is using you as a tool. When you attack Earth, the rear is naturally empty and there aren't many great cultivators overseeing it. If the freezing North sect doesn't seize the opportunity to take over your territory, do you think they'll keep it? Astral Fire Divine Lord said with a grin, You can't blame anyone but yourself for being too greedy. Greed is like a snake trying to swallow an elephant. Good. Greedy? Scorpio was so angry that his body trembled. He coughed up blood and grinned. No matter how greedy I am, how can I be more greedy than Hanming Zongzi? I can only blame myself for not being as despicable as you. I can only blame myself for being too weak. I can only be used by you and led by the nose. Otherwise, the Big Dipper constellation would have become the world of the demons. All right, cut the crap. Divine Lord Tajian was a young man in silver armor. His energy was as fierce as a peerless heavenly sword. His eyes were cold and sharp. He stepped forward and said, Scorpio, as long as you hand over the Dharma artifact, Zongzi will show mercy and not kill you. He will only imprison you on a planet. What Dharma artifact? Oh no. Divine Lord Scorpio said. Of course, he could not hand over this piece of evidence. This piece of evidence was a seed that would trigger the conflict between Earth's civilization and the Alliance of Justice. Because the invasion of the demons on Earth was instigated by the Alliance of Justice. Divine Lord Han Ming should be the one to avenge the deaths of hundreds of millions of cultivators and mortals. He knew Divine Lord Han Ming's methods too well. Under his leadership, the freezing North sect had expanded to several galaxies outside the Big Dipper constellation. Every time, he would appear as a savior, intensifying the internal conflicts of the civilization, instigating resistance, supporting puppets, and eventually overturning the local ruling order, supporting the bottom-level forces. These bottom-level forces would, of course, be loyal to him after receiving his favor. He controlled them from behind the scenes like an emperor. To be honest, this method was much gentler than the method of exterminating an entire race in the ruins of immortality. It rarely caused a backlash. But even if Earth's cultivation civilization had gradually grown 100 years later, once this news was made public, it would still cause the cultivators on Earth to hate and retaliate against the Alliance of Justice. It was like an adopted son who had grown up and found out that his adoptive father was the one who killed his father. He would definitely seek revenge. This kind of revenge was, of course, emotional. After all, human hearts were made of flesh. Everyone wanted revenge. On the other hand, it was more of a consideration of interests. When a child grew up, he would naturally want to be the master of the family. He would naturally want to drive away and kill his adoptive father, or even his biological father. The history of many civilizations was like this. Sometimes they just lacked a fuse, or rather, they lacked a righteous reason. As long as they couldn't find the imprint Dharma artifact, Hanming Zongzi would be in a dilemma. If he supported the Earth realm or allowed it to develop, then one day he would face a terrifying provocation. If they turned hostile and wanted to slaughter Earth, it would be very unrealistic. All the previous conciliatory plans would be ruined. One had to know that Hanming Zongzi had invested too many resources in Earth over the past few years. Thinking of Hanming Zongzi's defeated face, Divine Lord Scorpio couldn't help but let out a smug smile. Damn it, even if you kill me, you won't be able to live in peace. Scorpio, do you have to be stubborn to the end? Sir God Sly Nether, who was shrouded in countless phantoms and ghosts and emitted a terrifying, gloomy ghost aura like the King of Hell, sneered, It's not like I can't find him by searching his soul. If you dare to search my soul, I'll explode my divine soul. Divine Lord Scorpio said smugly, I'm the only one who knows where the imprint Dharma artifact is. If I die, you'll never find it. Once it's activated and the truth is revealed, I'm afraid the cultivation world on Earth will fight you to the death. Divine Lord Slyness immediately frowned, but he didn't do anything. Divine Lord Scorpio was known for his powerful body and terrifying Dharma laws of poison, but his divine soul arts were also extraordinary. If he exploded his divine soul, he wouldn't be able to stop him. If you don't tell us, aren't you afraid that we'll torture your body, destroy your divine soul, and throw it into a poisonous fire to burn for 1,000 years? Divine Lord Green Miasma threatened. It was a woman with a face full of wrinkles and rust, like an old witch. Her hair was like seaweed, and her filthy cloak was still dripping with water. Her whole body was covered with moss, and she gave off a damp, rotten, and foul smell. It had something to do with the Dharma laws she cultivated and the path she climbed. It was the extremely rare Dharma laws of poison. Burn it. Divine Lord Scorpio didn't care. He wasn't a 3-year-old kid. He wasn't that gullible. At this moment, if he were to hand over the imprint magic artifact, then only death would await him. The imprint Dharma artifact was indisputable evidence. And Divine Lord Scorpio was a witness. Han Mingzongzi was worried about getting and destroying the evidence, so he wanted to get rid of everyone who knew the inside story. Dead men tell no tales. Forget it. Take him away and interrogate him slowly. Divine Lord Astral Fire grunted and waved his hand. The 9 Heavens Fire Law was unleashed, turning into a pair of fiery red shackles that kept spitting out flames, imprisoning Divine Sovereign Tian Scorpio. Despicable and shameless. When I regain my freedom one day, I'll tear you to pieces. Divine Lord Scorpio grimaced in pain, but he didn't want to lose face, so he still cursed. Can't take it anymore? The torture has just begun. There are more cruel tortures waiting for you. Scorpio, if you can't take it, just tell me. As long as you confess, we'll still be good brothers. Astral Fire Divine Lord had a mocking look on his face. He raised his hand and grabbed Scorpio Divine Lord. Like an eagle dragging a chick, he was about to leave. Let him go. Just as the 4 Divine Lords were about to leave, a cold voice sounded. Jiang Tian had arrived. Chapter 1700. What a powerful body art. He's only a nascent soul cultivator, even though he's able to hide from our immortal will. How evil! Why did he ask us to let Sky Scorpion go? He's not a monster. He's quite evil. We have to be careful. Be careful. Seeing a nascent soul stage cultivator appear without a sound, the faces of Ganghua and the other 3 soul formation stage cultivators all changed. Vigilance appeared on their faces as they quickly communicated with each other with their divine senses. The immortal will of a soul formation grand cultivator was so powerful that they could cover a normal planet like Earth before the revival of the spirit chi with a single thought. They would be able to observe the stars as if they were observing their own fingerprints without missing anything. The immortal will of a soul formation cultivator was not only vast and powerful, but also meticulous. Even the movement of an ant deep underground or the flapping of a butterfly's wings among thousands of flowers would not be able to hide from their immortal will. And yet, Jiang Tian was able to hide from their immortal will and come a mile away from them, which was enough to prove that Jiang Tian wasn't an ordinary person and wasn't easy to deal with. Even though Jiang Tian was only a nascent soul cultivator, the 4 Divine Lords didn't underestimate Jiang Tian at all. Instead, they treated him as a formidable enemy. The struggle for the Grand Tao. The path of cultivation was covered densely with thorns, and it was filled with a myriad of dangers and cruelty. The higher the level of a cultivator, the more cautious he would be. Because those who were arrogant and reckless wouldn't be able to go far. They might die and turn into skeletons when they reached the chi refinement or foundation establishment level. The world of cultivation was like a filter. Those who could remain were all shrewd people. My friend, you don't look familiar. May I know where you're from? And why did you ask us to let Divine Lord Sky Scorpion go? Divine Lord Ganghua wasn't angry because he was offended. Instead, he cupped his fists and looked like a nice guy. Real overlords wouldn't act based on their mood or talk or intimidate people with their energy. Even if they wanted to kill someone, they would show a humble and friendly attitude to break down the enemy's vigilance and hostility. If they really wanted to fight, they would just kill them with a slash. A dog that bites does not bark. Although that saying wasn't a nice one on Earth, it was the most suitable to describe cultivators with long lifespans like nascent soul cultivators and soul formation grand cultivators. Jiang Tian's words were concise and comprehensive. To him, the expressions of the 4 Sir Gods changed slightly. They were very familiar with Jiang Tian's name. Jiang Tian used to be the master of the Myth Alliance. He could be said to be the #1 person in the world of cultivation on Earth. Even the recovery of spiritual qi was led by him. It could be said that such a brilliant and heroic figure was extremely rare even in the Big Dipper starfield. Although he was only a nascent soul cultivator, he was very talented. The Beihan sect had studied Jiang Tian's information carefully and even suspected that he was the reincarnation of a grand cultivator. Even Han Ming, the Zongzi of the Freezing North sect, admired Jiang Tian after learning about his achievements. He wanted to take him in as a disciple and train him well. Seeing Jiang Tian, Divine Lord Tian Scorpion's face was a bit complicated. Monsters weren't inhumane and bloodthirsty. Since they were psychic, they certainly had emotions and desires like humans. The first feeling Divine Lord Tian Scorpion felt when he saw Jiang Tian was guilt and shame. He had once committed heinous crimes against the creatures on Earth, but Jiang Tian was the dominator of the cultivation world on Earth. It was like a person who had messed up someone's house and met the owner. Divine Lord Tian Scorpion was certainly a bit scared. If he fell into Jiang Tian's hands, he would definitely be killed by Jiang Tian. After all, the hatred and conflict between them were too deep. But he was also quite glad, because Jiang Tian was undoubtedly the best person to get the Dharma artifact. He was also the best person to deal with Han Ming and Zongzi. Thinking of this, he was a bit worried. Kong Teichu was powerful, but he was only a nascent soul cultivator. No matter how talented he was, even if he was a 9th-grade nascent soul cultivator, he would be at a loss when facing the 4 divine lords. So, it's Kong Teichu, the leader of the Myth Alliance. I've heard a lot about you. I've finally met you today. You're indeed powerful and majestic. While Divine Lord Tian Scorpion was lost in his thoughts, Divine Lord Gang Hu cupped his fists and bowed. He said with a smile, "You may not know, but the entire solar system has changed greatly while you were away. The monsters invaded and the civilization on Earth was almost destroyed. Under the leadership of Han Ming Zongzi, we formed an alliance with the Feiyang sect, the banished Immortal Hall, and the other divine sects to expel the extraterritorial demon race, purge the evil, and suppress the demons. It's good that you're back. Come with me to see Han Ming Zongzi. I think Han Ming Zongzi will make the appropriate arrangements for your position and identity." He had no intention of handing over Divine Lord Tian Scorpion. He seemed to be humble, but he was actually arrogant. It was as if Jiang Tian was just a subject and Han Ming Zongzi was the emperor, who had to listen to his orders and receive his gifts. "Are you deaf?" Jiang Tian's eyes were cold as he said in a deep voice, "I told you to hand him over to me." Jiang Tian didn't speak loudly. But the Divine Lords present could clearly feel Jiang Tian's arrogance and disdain for them. It was an order, as if they had no right to refute or disobey. "You're so arrogant." Anger appeared on Astral Fire Divine Lord's face at first, but it disappeared in an instant like a fleeting shadow. "My friend, Divine Lord Tian Scorpion is extremely powerful. He's good at many kinds of Dharma laws such as heavenly armor and venom. We've already sacrificed a soul formation cultivator to capture him. He's only a nascent soul cultivator. Do you think you can handle him?" He then put on an "I'm doing this for your own good" face and tried to persuade Jiang Tian. "Don't worry. This bastard is the culprit behind the chaos on Earth. Han Ming Zongzi and the other members of the Alliance of Justice will never let him go. They'll punish him. I still have something to do. I'll leave now. See you another day." After saying this, he used the fire escape technique and turned into a streak of fiery light, flying outside. "I'm the leader of the mythological alliance on Earth and the one who suffered the most from the chaos caused by the monsters. Of course, I'll take care of Divine Lord Tian Scorpion. Don't worry. I have a way to deal with him." However, Jiang Tian's figure immediately flashed and blocked his path. At that moment, Astral Fire Divine Lord was getting impatient. Even a clay Buddha had a temper, not to mention a soul formation Divine Lord. Huang Hua was one of the 4 guardians of the Beihan sect. Such a person had control over a planet region and thousands of sects had submitted to him. He was already the most powerful being in the Beidou planet region and looked down on billions of creatures. How could he not be angry? How could he not be arrogant? The reason why he repeatedly retreated earlier was because he felt that Jiang Tian's movement technique was strange and he couldn't figure out the details of it. For the sake of caution, he didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. But that didn't mean he was afraid of Jiang Tian. A person's combat power included many aspects, not just speed. Kong Te Chu, that's enough. Astral Flame Divine Lord bellowed angrily and turned hostile. I respect you, that's why I call you, fellow Taoist, and leader. If I don't respect you, you're nothing but a lowly ant. Do you know how many nascent soul cultivators like you I've killed? Chapter 1701. Hearing this, Jiang Tian already knew that what Taisha had said before about Han Ming and the other Zongzi instigating and controlling the Big Dipper Demon Clan to invade Earth and then appearing as the savior to kill the Big Dipper Demon Clan was most likely true. I'm the leader of the Myth Alliance. All the cultivators in this planet region have to listen to me, including the cultivators from other planets. Jiang Tian smiled and said, if you don't listen to me, die. Then, Divine Lord Astral Fire almost burst out laughing. Kong Te Chu, do you think you're so great just because you're the top cultivator on Earth? You're too ignorant. Even after the recovery of Spirit Chi, the Earth realm was nothing more than a remote and desolate place. There were no decent powerhouses there. You're like a toad in the mud at the bottom of a well. You'll never know the vastness of the universe. Do you know that a nascent soul cultivator can only be the lord of a cultivation planet? And in the universe, who knows how many planets with life, cultivation planets, and stars in the Milky Way were innumerable? You're just a nobody in the Beidou planet region, not to mention the Milky Way. No one knows the universe better than I do. Jiang Tian didn't care about his mockery. He stepped forward and said, I've given you enough time to think about it. Why don't you give me Sky Scorpion? Aren't you afraid of death? Kong Te Chu, I wanted to remind you. Isn't it good to be alive? Why do you have to die? Divine Lord Astral Fire sneered. Suddenly, his smile disappeared and he said, kill him. He didn't do it himself. Because he didn't think it was necessary. In his opinion, even though Jiang Tian was fast, he was only a nascent soul cultivator. It would be embarrassing if he, a mid-stage soul formation cultivator, killed a nascent soul cultivator from a backward planet. It was Divine Lord Astral Sword. Divine Lord Astral Sword was also very fast. He was known as Silver Sword Lightning. At least in terms of speed, he was one of the top cultivators in the Beihan sect and the entire Mizar planet region. You're a talent. However, you shouldn't have offended the cultivators of the freezing North sect. With a shout, the Divine Lord of Swords moved with his sword, becoming one with his sword. He turned into a streak of sword light, piercing towards Jiang Tian at an unbelievable speed. This sword light was completely composed of laws. It was incomparably sharp and fast to the extreme. Alas, Kong Te Chu was able to reach the core formation stage before the recovery of spiritual energy. In just 4 years, he reached the nascent soul stage. He was indeed a talent. It's a pity that he died just like that. Green Miasma God Lord revealed a look of regret and shook his head gently. Han Ming Zongzi had once expressed his admiration for Kong Te Chu and his desire to take him in as his subordinate was extremely strong. Today, I gave the order to kill Kong Te Chu, and I have to explain it to Zongzi when I get back. As for Astral Flame Divine Lord, he frowned slightly and shook his head gently. Divine Lord of Swords is a 7th grade soul formation realm cultivator. Even though he's only at the early stage of the soul formation realm, his combat power has already surpassed that of an ordinary peak stage soul formation realm cultivator. His silver sword is as fast as lightning. Once the laws of swords break the void, even a peak stage Divine Lord would be killed. However, this is a good thing for me. There's one more vengeful soul on the 10,000 souls flag and my Dharma power will increase a lot. As for Divine Lord Iming, he had already thought of Jiang Tian's divine soul and smiled like a mother. All in all, the 3 divine lords who were watching by the side didn't believe that Jiang Tian could dodge the attack at all. How dare you show off in front of me with your sword principle? Jiang Tian smiled coldly and slammed his palm down. What? He's using his body to resist. Astral Flame Divine Lord was stunned and couldn't believe it. He's dead. The moment the mocking smiles appeared on the faces of Sir God Slyness and Sir God Green Miasma, they froze and could no longer laugh. The mocking smiles turned into deep fear. There was a loud bang. The sharp and invincible sword aura formed by Divine Lord Tajian was crushed by Jiang Tian's palm, as if it were made of tofu. The fragments of the laws of swords were shot in all directions. Broken bones flew everywhere, blood splashed and flesh rained down. How is that possible? A nascent soul cultivator killed a soul formation realm cultivator. And he did it with his body. How can he have such a terrifying body? Does he have a supergrade or even a sacred grade nascent soul? At this moment, Astral Flame and the other divine lords were dumbfounded. Normal nascent soul cultivators, no matter how powerful their cultivation arts were, how experienced they were, or how strong they were, they could only defeat those at the same level. In other words, killing a level 9 nascent soul cultivator was the limit. It was impossible for them to kill a soul formation cultivator. Legend had it that only sacred-grade nascent soul cultivators could defeat those at the same level and kill soul formation cultivators. That was because sacred-grade nascent soul cultivators formed sacred-grade laws, which were comparable to or even stronger than those controlled by soul formation grand cultivators. In fact, sacred-grade nascent soul cultivators were extremely rare even in the Beidou planet region. Once they appeared, all the sects and families would treat them as soul formation cultivators and use all their resources to train them. According to statistics, only one sacred-grade nascent soul cultivator, Han Ming, the sect master of the Beihan sect, had appeared in the past 100,000 years in the vast Mizang planet region, among countless sects and families. Han Ming didn't disappoint. He indeed became a sacred-grade soul formation cultivator in a short time and had a chance to become a void-returning sacred cultivator in the future. The Beihan sect was able to dominate the Kai Yang planet region with Han Ming Zongzi as their trump card. The other 9 divine sects all followed his orders and didn't dare to disobey him. At this moment, Cheng Lulu, who was standing in the distance with Zhao Xueqing, couldn't believe her eyes. Divine Lord Tatian had once killed demons on Earth. He had once slashed through a 100,000-foot tall mountain with a single strike. It could be said that his sword beam was chilling for 50,000 kilometers. In the eyes of Earth's cultivators, Divine Lord Tatian was like a god. He was high and mighty, untouchable and unshakable. But to their surprise, he couldn't even last a single round against Jiang Tian. Furthermore, Jiang Tian had done it too casually. All he did was slap him like he was swatting a fly. As for Divine Lord Tatian, he had fused with his sword. He had pushed the strength of his Dharma artifact and his body to their limits, but he was still no match. It's stable. If Senior Grand Primordium were to return to Earth, he would probably still be invincible. At that moment, Cheng Lulu was instantly relieved. But that's too terrifying. As for Princess Red Joy, who had rushed over, she screamed in fright when she saw this scene. She nearly peed her pants. She had already seen Jiang Tian kill Divine Lord Taisha. She had already overestimated Jiang Tian, but she never expected Jiang Tian's strength to be so terrifying. He could even kill a soul formation elder of the Beihan sect with a single strike. What sort of system is this? How can it be so powerful and tenacious? As for Elder Pan Sheng, Fairy Chen Shi, and Divine Sun Hanch, they were so frightened that their souls almost left their bodies. They could tell that Jiang Tian was able to break through the laws and destroy Yuan Qi with just his physical strength. It was unbelievable. You even dared to kill an elder of the Beihan sect? You will definitely die today. At that moment, Divine Lord Astral Fire finally reacted. He could not help but show his anger. With a shout, the 3 divine lords attacked Jiang Tian together. Chapter 1702. Astral Fire Divine Lord knew Hanming Zongzi's principles. When choosing puppets for the cultivators from those undeveloped planets, loyalty comes first, ability comes second. If a genius couldn't be used, he would destroy them immediately, so that they wouldn't become his stumbling block. The puppets were useless, but that wasn't scary. After all, they were only using their identities to govern the conquered territories. This task was easy to complete. If they couldn't suppress them, the Beihan sect could help them secretly. But if they weren't loyal enough, it would be troublesome if they got the resources, increased their power and rebelled against the Beihan sect. Jiang Tian, on the other hand, was too talented, too powerful, and too arrogant. He didn't take the Beihan sect seriously at all. Astral Fire Divine Lord thought from Hanming Zongzi's point of view. He would never let Jiang Tian live. He would kill him immediately. 100 ghosts parade, 10,000 souls devour gods. Divine Lord Slinus's eyes were gloomy. He took out a pitch-black and deep flag with countless ghastly skulls painted on it and waved it in the air. Suddenly, a black aura surged towards Jiang Tian like waves crashing on the shore. There were countless ghosts in the black aura, but they weren't ordinary ghosts. They were in the form of smoke and soul energy, but in the form of crystals. It was the ghost law made with endless divine souls. It was condensed, sharp and fierce, and specialized in countering soul energy and divine souls. It was extremely rare and terrifying. Terrifying! Cries of surprise rang out, trembling in the air. The law of ghosts was too powerful. Everyone was far away and their soul energy wasn't weak, but they felt as if their souls had fallen into it and they couldn't get out. Take my miasma law. The green miasma old woman laughed evilly. Her eyes were ferocious. Her dirty and wet cloak was shaking rapidly, making flapping noises. She suddenly pointed her finger in the air, and a flow of green miasma principle coiled towards Jiang Tian like a crystal python. Quick, fall back. Take out the Dharma artifacts given by the sect and create a shield. Xianxia yelled. The miasma law was too terrifying. It was said that 1,000 years ago, the cultivators of a planet rebelled against the Beihan sect. Green Miasma Immortal Lord was ordered to quell the rebellion. She stood outside the atmosphere and pointed her finger, activating the law of miasma. In the blink of an eye, the vital energy layer of the planet with a radius of 500,000 miles was filled with green miasma. All living creatures, billions of lives, died, decayed, and rotted. Among them were thousands of nascent soul stage cultivators and even a few divine transformation stage cultivators. No one could escape. What was even more terrifying was that it was said that even after 1,000 years, that star was still surrounded by the laws of miasma, and it grew and multiplied without end. Not a single blade of grass grew on it, and there were no signs of life at all. Only piles of bones covered it, and it proved that life had once existed here. Astral flames incinerate the heavens, die for me. Finally, even Astral Fire Divine Lord attacked. He did not show any mercy, nor did he underestimate his enemy. It was still like a lion hunting a rabbit, and it had to use all its strength. The law of astral fire. One of them burned down from the top of Jiang Tian's head, like the sun's true fire. The other burned from the bottom of Jiang Tian's feet, like the hellfire or the 9 netherine fire. 3 divine sovereigns at the middle stage of the 6th stage divine transformation realm. Furthermore, the grade of the laws is definitely not low. So what if this Kong Teichu has a sacred grade nascent soul? He is ultimately a nascent soul. He will still die, said Xianxia with a certain look in his eyes. From his point of view, no matter how great one's talent was, they were ultimately limited by their cultivation levels. If they could easily kill enemies of a higher level, why would they pursue the advancement of their cultivation levels? They might as well pursue the grade of the golden core or nascent soul and remain stagnant. In fact, most cultivators placed their cultivation levels first. The grade of the golden core or nascent soul was second. Those like Jiang Tian, who took an unconventional path by repeatedly suppressing their cultivation levels and refusing to give up until they condensed a divine-grade golden core or nascent soul, were few and far between. That's great. This madman is finally going to die. Princess Redjoy was so excited that her face flushed red as she clenched her fists. She felt like she had been toyed with by Jiang Tian. She found Jiang Tian an eyesore and wished that Jiang Tian would immediately die. Elder Pan and Fairy Chen, she naturally wished for Jiang Tian's death as well. The reason was simple. They were vassals of the North Frost sect. They had been slaves for too long and liked to think for their masters. Taoist Grand Primordium is in trouble. Among the other realm cultivators, only Yuan Jiankong revealed a look of worry. He felt vexed and disillusioned. Because looking at the situation of both sides, he also realized that Han Ming Zongzi, who was always upholding justice and always regarded himself as a righteous person, was actually a schemer with evil intentions. 3 divine lords attacked together. Cheng Lulu's face turned as pale as a sheet. She urged her with a voice transmission. Matriarch, why aren't you helping? What are 3 mere soul formation cultivators? Back in the ruins of immortality, my husband killed more than 100 soul formation mighty figures. Zhao Xueqing chuckled. She was extremely confident in Jiang Tian as she sent a voice transmission. What? More than 100 soul formation mighty figures? He once killed more than 100 soul formation mighty figures. Cheng Lulu's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. She still hadn't recovered from the shock of killing more than 100 soul formation cultivators. Jiang Tian had already attacked. Ever since I condensed this suppressing hell devil godly soul, I really haven't eaten my fill. Jiang Tian heaved a sigh and pressed his forehead with the middle finger of his right hand. All of a sudden, the immortal will of the fiend god was unleashed. The terrifying immortal will of the fiend god had become solid, as if it were real. It opened its mouth and inhaled. All of a sudden, the ghost laws were sucked into the mouth of the demon god of hell, suppressing demon god's consciousness. The black flag in Divine Lord Iming's hand suddenly turned white and all the Dharma power on it had been swallowed. How is that possible? His immortal will is of the fiend element and it has such terrifying power. This time, Divine Lord Iming was extremely startled. He screamed and quickly retreated, as if his soul was about to leave his body. You want to run? Unfortunately, it's too late. Jiang Tian stepped in the air and compressed the space with a violent force. The curvature of the space was like a spring that had been pressed to the extreme, ejecting him. The speed brought by the pure physical strength was even faster than the power of the space laws of many people. Jiang Tian arrived in front of Divine Lord Iming in a blink and slapped him. The air within 10 miles became as thin as a piece of paper. All the Dharma treasures, Dharma artifacts and buildings floating in the air became flat. Arg! Divine Sovereign Eerie Nether was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. Amidst his shrill screams, his body, divine treasures, and divine body were instantly flattened and spread out to an area of 5 kilometers. It was completely flat, and it was thinner than a strand of hair. That was the terrifying power of the chaotic divine body. Even though Jiang Tian was only a nascent soul cultivator and only used his body without any Dharma power, it was as easy as pie for him to kill a 6th-grade soul formation cultivator. But in the eyes of the others, it was too shocking and terrifying. Immediately, there were exclamations at the scene. Everyone's eyes almost popped out and they were full of disbelief. At the same time, the Dharma laws of astral fire had changed their route and were chasing and burning crazily. It was like a falling star in the sky and a surging sea of fire under his feet. Ha! You're playing with fire in front of me. You're asking for trouble. Jiang Tian laughed and used his Dharma power for the first time. The Dharma laws of true fire of Suzu. It turned into a flaming saber and slashed. Chapter 1703. The law of astral fire was shattered. It was like butter against a hot knife when faced with the law of true fire of Suzu. Go to hell! After breaking the law of true fire, the Suzaku flaming blade didn't lose its momentum. It slashed towards Astral Fire Divine Lord. No! At this moment, Astral Fire Divine Lord knew that he was no match for Jiang Tian. In desperation, more than a dozen offensive and defensive Dao artifacts around him exploded. Violent and vast Dharma power rose to the sky like waves. Those Dao artifacts were made by artifact refining masters. Some of them were even made from planets. They were very precious and valuable. Of course, their power was also terrifying. Some of them had even reached the peak of Tao artifacts and were called quasi-divine weapons. They could withstand the attack of a peak soul formation realm cultivator. More than a dozen Tao artifacts exploded at the same time. How terrifying was that? Some were roaring like divine beasts, some were like stars in the sky, some were in the form of shields, some were like black tides. There were thousands of changes in an instant and their forms were different. Astral Fire Divine Lord was confident that even if he couldn't seriously injure Jiang Tian, he could at least make Jiang Tian panic and give himself a chance to escape. Yes, he had already started to run. Loud cracking sounds came from behind him. Astral Fire Divine Lord's Immortal will also saw the layers of offensive Tao artifacts and shields quickly shattering under the Suzaku flaming blade. They couldn't even last a second. Then, a burning sensation came. Astral Fire Divine Lord let out a roar full of unwillingness and desperation. His consciousness fell into eternal darkness and his divine soul was destroyed. Oh my God! Seeing this, Green Miasma Divine Lord was scared out of his wits. He turned around and ran without saying anything. 3 Divine Lords had died. Kong Teichu was completely suppressing them. Green Miasma Divine Lord was on par with the 3 cultivators, if not slightly weaker. If she didn't run, she would have a death wish. Her speed was not considered slow, but for some reason her body was nailed in the air like a fly specimen in amber, unable to move at all. Oh my God! He's mastered the space law. It's comparable to a soul formation realm cultivator's realm. Green Miasma exclaimed in its heart, as if it had seen a demon. Space, time, and karma had always been the most difficult laws to control. Even soul formation and divine lords would find it difficult to come into contact with them. However, this brat had actually managed to control it while still in the nascent soul realm. It was like a 3-year-old child lifting a cauldron weighing 1,000 pounds. How could Green Miasma God Lord remain calm? Green Miasma Divine Sovereign's eyes were filled with despair when he saw Jiang Tian walk over lazily as though he was taking a leisurely stroll. Then, Jiang Tian raised his hand and slammed down with his palm. Jiang Tian was the only one who could do so. Clang. As Jiang Tian smashed Green Miasma Sir God into dust, the battle finally came to an end. However, the shock and fear brought about by the battle had only just begun to spread. Because everything had happened too quickly, the battle had already ended before the onlookers could form any thoughts or analyses in their minds. How is this possible? He killed 4 divine transformation realm mighty figures by himself. Xianxia's heart turned cold as a deep sense of fear welled up within him. In the Frost North sect, he was considered one of the most talented people. Apart from the few Zongzis, he was considered the best among all the Xianxis. The sect placed great importance on him and placed high hopes on him. His fellow disciples flattered him and he thought highly of himself. However, at that moment, he felt like trash compared to Jiang Tian. What bullshit genius was he? He could have crippled his cultivation and stopped cultivating. He even felt that even Hanming Zongzi, who had a sacred-grade nascent soul, might not have Jiang Tian's present strength. When Hanming Zongzi had a sacred-grade nascent soul and was at the peak of the 9th level, he had only managed to defeat an ordinary soul formation cultivator after 6 hours of arduous battle. However, Jiang Tian was only at the early stage nascent soul realm. Yet, he was able to insta-kill him in one strike. There was no need for him to strike a second time. Da-da-da-da. Princess Redjoy was so frightened that her face turned pale. She felt as though her guts were being torn apart as her teeth chattered, producing a machine gun-like sound. At that moment, Jiang Tian was like a devil in her heart. He was extremely terrifying. Having repeatedly offended Jiang Tian along the way, she was afraid that Jiang Tian would hold a grudge against her. If Jiang Tian wanted to kill her, no one would be able to stop him. He did not even need to take action. All he needed was a thought or a glare. After all, Jiang Tian's psyche was just too terrifying. It was completely corporeal. Even Divine Lord Bizarro Nether's 10,000 ghost flag could not withstand it. Furthermore, Jiang Tian also seemed to have cultivated in ocular techniques. Jiang Tian had killed 4 divine lords in a row as though he was chopping vegetables. It was too shocking and terrifying that it left everyone stunned. Han Shenxi even felt that even if Han Ming Zongzi were to fight Jiang Tian, his chances of victory would be slim. Heavens! Middle Saturn was a planet that was abandoned during the era of the celestial grounds wanderings. The people left behind were all mortals. Their descendants had ordinary bloodlines and mediocre aptitudes. How did a heaven-defying figure like Kong Teichu appear? Han Shenxi couldn't help but cry in his mind. Jiang Tian didn't care about what the others thought. He looked at Divine Lord Scorpio and said, Han Ming Zongzi was the one who instigated you to lead the monsters to invade Earth. That's right. Sir God Tian Scorpio stood up and bowed deeply. With an apologetic face, he said, in the Big Dipper Star region, the monster race and the human race were once equals. But later, the human race overtook us and attacked the monster race. We lost our home. We had no choice but to listen to Han Ming Zongzi's sweet talk. Tell me where the Dharma artifact is. Jiang Tian said. Han Ming Zongzi was very smart. He didn't invade Earth by force, but by peaceful evolution. He appeared as a savior and saved the civilization on Earth, which was in danger under the attack of the monsters. He had countless followers of the human race on Earth. If Jiang Tian were to fight with this person and take back control of the Myth Alliance, these followers would probably try to stop him. But most of them were fooled by Han Ming Zongzi. They didn't do it for their own interests, but for the sake of protecting the civilization on Earth. Jiang Tian didn't have the heart to kill them. With the Dharma artifact, the truth would be revealed. Those people would certainly come to their senses and stand on Jiang Tian's side, so that they wouldn't have to kill their own kind. Of course, Jiang Tian wouldn't be polite to those who knew the inside story and were in cahoots with the so-called Righteous Alliance. All right. Divine Lord Scorpio heaved a sigh and told Chen Fan a location with his immortal will. Here it is. Jiang Tian's face changed slightly, then he nodded and said indifferently, although you were bewitched and deceived by Han Ming, Zongzi and the others, you have also committed many crimes on Earth. You have committed too many crimes to be recorded. Your crimes are unforgivable. Kill yourself and I'll leave you with a whole body. After hearing that, everyone was shocked. Han Shenxi also couldn't believe it. How bold of him to ask Divine Lord Scorpio, one of the 9 divine lords of the monsters, to kill himself. My friend, if you spare my life, I'll be your subordinate. I'm willing to serve you as my lord and be at your beck and call. I'll be loyal and devoted to you and never betray you. The Beihan sect, the Feiyang sect and the other divine sects are powerful. You need help. Emperor Scorpio seemed to be struggling. He wanted to say something but hesitated. In the end, he knelt on the ground and begged humbly and sincerely. His posture was extremely humble. No need. Jiang Tian shook his head. His expression was calm, without a trace of emotion. Could it be that fellow Taoist doubts my loyalty? I can sign a divine soul contract with you and be your servant forever. Divine Lord Scorpio panicked. His demonic eyes were filled with a deep desire to survive. There's no need. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Han Ming Zongzi, a sacred soul formation cultivator. There are more than a dozen high-level soul formation cultivators in the 4 divine sects of the Righteous Alliance, right? They're invincible in your eyes, but they're just ants to me. So, I don't need your help. You can go now. Scorpio Divine Sovereign looked at the remains of the demon clan on the ground, the underground city of lairs in flames, and the trembling and mournful faces of his descendants. His demonic eyes were filled with reluctance, anger, regret, unwillingness, sorrow, and many other emotions. Tears flowed down his cheeks as he slowly said, "Let's go." He said slowly, "Then, I'll follow your order and apologize with my life." Ancestral Patriarch. Ancestral Patriarch, you can't die. You're a peerless monster god. Our Ancestral Patriarch has lived for 10,000 years and reached the soul formation level for 3,000 years. How can he die like this? How can we face the ancestors of the Scorpio race? Ancestral Patriarch, We hope you can lead us to a place to live. Leader of the Taichu Alliance, our ancestral patriarch has admitted his mistakes. Please spare his life. We're willing to kill ourselves to atone for his crimes. Yes. We know you're a kind person. Please give us a chance. The cultivators of the Heavenly Scorpion clan all knelt down, kowtowing, pounding their chests and wailing. Divine Lord Scorpio was extremely talented. He had reached the golden core level at 100 years old and the nascent soul level at 120. He had once dominated the star ocean in the Beidou planet region and had never lost a battle. He had made a name for himself and was known as a peerless hero. Even Han Ming Zongzi could only use his wits to plot against him and did not dare to challenge him directly. But then he had died and had to commit suicide to apologize. He had been used by Han Ming Zongzi, which was a great tragedy. How could his descendants not be in pain and cry? Jiang Tian looked cold and didn't say a word, giving Divine Lord Scorpio time to say goodbye to his descendants. Mercy? Mercy? Who would show mercy to the creatures on Earth who had died tragically? When they were bleeding and begging for mercy, the monsters were never merciful. Idiot! Don't cry. The Scorpio Emperor stood up shakily, as if he was no longer a peerless demon god, but a dying old man. He smiled with tears in his eyes and said with a kind smile, I was used by the ambitious Han Ming Zongzi to kill people. I wasn't wise. I've killed countless creatures on Earth. I'm heartless. I am so heartless and unwise that I am not worthy of the title of demon god. He sobbed. Remember this and pass the message to all the Beidou monsters. Don't disturb Earth again. If I have the chance, I'll kill those Big Dipper humans that harbor evil intentions and wash away your sins. I won't die in peace if I violate this. Do you understand? We'll remember what you said, ancestral patriarch. Countless monsters cried. Divine Lord Scorpio then bowed to Jiang Tian and said, I only hope that you can forgive the descendants of the Beidou monsters and leave us some descendants. They're not evil, just a group of pitiful creatures looking for a place to live. All the killings were ordered by the leaders of the monster race. They were just following orders. You're not qualified to negotiate with me, Jiang Tian said with a displeased expression as he flung his sleeves. Divine Lord Scorpio looked helpless and his eyes were full of longing. Divine Lord Scorpio didn't want to die. Cultivation wasn't easy. He had gone through a lot of hardships, survived thousands of battles, stepped on piles of bones and bodies, and stepped on pools of blood of his comrades to reach his current cultivation level and status. He had become the divine lord of the monster race, respected by billions of monsters. He didn't want to die. He still had a wife and children, relatives and comrades. He longed for the warmth of the mortal world and didn't want to give up family and friendship. He didn't want to die. Han Ming Zongzi had schemed against him too badly. Not only had he suffered heavy losses on Earth, but even the ancestral land of the Beidou Star region had been taken away by Han Ming Zongzi. He wanted to live. He wanted to take revenge and wash away his shame. But at this moment, he had no other choice. If he resisted, Jiang Tian would be able to slap him to death with a single palm strike, and it wouldn't change the outcome. Instead, it would incur Jiang Tian's wrath, and he would start a massacre on his descendants, and what awaited him would be the annihilation of his clan. But since Jiang Tian was so powerful, he believed that Jiang Tian could easily kill Han Ming Zongzi. Then, it would be considered as revenge for the monsters who died unjustly. He even thought that Jiang Tian would be able to conquer the Beidou Star region and dominate the entire Milky Way when he reached the Soul Formation realm. As for Jiang Tian, it could be seen from the Myth Alliance that he was in favor of equal coexistence between the human race and the monster race. When the time came, he would unite the Beidou Star region and give them a way out. This old man congratulates Cultivator Tai Chu on killing Han Ming Zongzi and conquering the human race of the Beidou Star region. Avenge the creatures on Earth and return to the position of the leader of the Myth Alliance. Thinking of this, Divine Lord Scorpio's face showed endless determination and a hint of relief. He heaved a sigh and sat down in the lotus position, chanting the demon detoxification curse. Suddenly, an endless rain of light soared into the sky. It was a riot of colors. A natural and gentle power rushed out in all directions. The great Tao resonated, and heaven and earth resonated with each other. Divine Lord Scorpio had chosen to die by Tao assimilation. The so-called Tao assimilation meant turning all the essence Qi, soul energy and Tao he had cultivated in his life into natural energy and returning it to the world. The Buddhists called it sitting, passing away and nirvana, while the Taoists called it immortalization. It was a decent way to die. However, he had turned the power he brought from the Beidou star region to Mars. It was as if he had moved a large amount of spirit Qi from the world there. The spirit Qi produced by a soul formation cultivator was as deep as the ocean. Immediately, the entire Mars had a bit more vitality. That was a form of compensation and forgiveness to some extent. A peerless Fey god has chosen to die by Tao assimilation under the coercion of Kong Techu. While the monsters were crying and Hanch Divine Prince and the other cultivators of the Mizang planet region were frightened. Suddenly, Jiang Tian turned his head and stared at them with a pair of cold and emotionless eyes, saying, "How will you make up for your sins?" Chapter 1704. Everyone trembled in fright when Jiang Tian swept his gaze across them like a cold bolt of lightning. They fell silent out of fear. Fairy Qinshi's face turned pale as she hesitated to speak. Hanch Shenxi's eyes were flustered as he organized his words, hoping to beg for mercy. As for Elder Pan Sheng, his legs had already turned to jelly as he knelt to the ground. Only Princess Redjoy grunted delicately and said, "Senior, we are only following orders. Besides, we have not killed a single human from Earth from beginning to end. What crime have we committed?" "Bitch, shut up." Upon seeing this scene, Hanch Shenxi immediately cursed inwardly. He suddenly raised his hand and slapped Princess Redjoy in the face. "What a foolish woman. If you want to die, don't drag us down with you." Kong Techu's cultivation level was exceedingly high and his strength was unparalleled. Even the 4 Northern Frost Elders had been killed as easily as slicing vegetables. Even the mighty Divine Lord Scorpio had been forced to commit suicide to atone for his crimes. What sort of might was this? It was enough to be on par with Hanming Zongzi. Ignoring the fact that the Boundless Sect disciples were strictly considered the periphery of the Northern Frost Sect, they were considered Hanming Zongzi's henchmen. It was only right for him to kill them. Even if he was unreasonable and used his powerful cultivation level to oppress others and kill them, what could they do? Could they resist? In an interstellar war between civilizations, morality was not worth mentioning. But the slap split Princess Redjoy's face as she flew more than 10 meters away and slammed into a dilapidated wall. Her body was covered in dirt and her hair was disheveled. She was in a wretched state. She no longer had the noble bearing of a princess daughter. Instead, she looked like a chicken. Princess Redjoy never expected that Hanch Shenxi, who had been having fun with her on the airship, would suddenly turn hostile and slap her. She could not help but feel angry and fearful. However, fear ultimately prevailed as she stood up in a wretched state, not daring to say a word. "Haven't you killed a Fae from Earth?" Jiang Tian asked coldly. This Princess Redjoy was at a loss for words. She had indeed killed a Fae from Earth. This was because Hanming Zongzi had arrived after the 9 demon clan godly lords had led the demons to invade Earth. First, he sent the marine race from Earth's Bermuda Triangle to act as the vanguard to fight against the Big Dipper demon clan. In particular, he had the Sea King lead his subordinates to attack Mars. All of them were killed and exhausted. Then, he raised the call to wipe out all the demons on Earth, causing the 2 major forces of the Earth's mythological alliance, the human race and the demon race, to be suspicious of each other. They were divided and hated each other. In the end, internal strife broke out. As for the Boundless Sect, they were also under orders to help the humans on Earth kill the moon-worshipping wolf race and other demons. The number of demons from Earth that had died at Princess Redjoy's hands numbered in the hundreds. Those who have killed humans, demons, and all living creatures on Earth, come out. Don't wait for me to search your soul. Jiang Tian's voice suddenly turned cold. Senior Tai Chu, spare my life. The dozens of cultivators, including Princess Redjoy and Elder Pan Sheng, turned pale from fright. They did not dare resist, nor did they have the courage to escape. All they could do was walk out while trembling. Die. Without another word, Jiang Tian slapped down with his palm without any mercy. Bang. The pure strength of his physical body was terrifying beyond measure. The chaos divine body, even at the initial success stage, was still very domineering. The space within a half-kilometer radius was squashed into pieces of paper. In the sky, it was as though an extremely thin but beautiful blood-colored membrane had appeared. None of the cultivators escaped. All of them perished. Before Princess Redjoy died, her beautiful eyes were still wide open. Her pretty face was filled with horror, shock, and indignation. It was as though she could not believe that she had died under the hands of an earthling cultivator. Beside her, Han Shenxi, Yuan Jiankong, Fairy Chenxi, and the other cultivators were splattered with blood. They were so frightened that their bodies were trembling like sieves. They felt a lingering fear and joy. They were glad that they had been ordered to wage war against the Big Dipper Fae. They had not participated in the pursuit of the demons on Earth or the suppression of the humans on Earth. They knew that even though Jiang Tian had once teamed up with them, they were not on the same level as Jiang Tian. It was like mortals facing gods. Why would gods care about the lives of mortals? Furthermore, when it came to matters of right and wrong, like Yuan Jiankong, even if he had some friendship with Jiang Tian would not show him any mercy. You have two paths to choose. 1. Form a divine soul contract with me. When the time is right, wage war against the Big Dipper cultivators led by Hanming Zongzi. Stand by my side and become my slaves. Then I will spare your lives. 2. Wage war against me now and die. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. He was like a high and mighty god as he looked down at the cultivators of the wintry North sect. We are willing to renounce the darkness and join the light. We will follow Alliance Lord Tai Chu. We will not hesitate to sacrifice our lives for him. Hanming Zongzi has evil intentions and is despicable. We are ashamed to be on the same side as him. He seems to be a righteous man, but in fact he is greedy and ugly. He has stirred up a storm of blood and has no regard for human lives. He has committed heinous crimes and deserves to be cut into pieces. Everyone has the right to kill him. As soon as Jiang Tian spoke these words, everyone seemed as if they'd been granted amnesty, and they didn't hesitate in the slightest to kneel down successively and speak silently like cicadas in winter. Some of them even cursed Hanming Zongzi as if he had killed their father. The cultivators of the wintry North sect were not as strong as those of the Empire of the Ruins of Immortality. After all, the Mizang planet region was a large cultivation planet and there was no unified dynasty. Instead, the top 10 divine sects were side by side. Cultivators only cared about their own lives and the improvement of their strength and status. Although the Empire of the Ruins of Immortality was much weaker than the Mizang planet region, all the cultivators and mortals were thinking about the survival of their civilization in the face of a world-ending disaster. They were united and ready to die, so they could unleash their greatest potential. Their battle awareness was also the strongest. Jiang Tian didn't want to talk to them. He pressed his forehead with his right middle finger and the golden lake rippled. The immortal will of the fiend god of prison burst out and quickly merged with their blood, forming a divine soul contract. After doing all this, Jiang Tian heaved a sigh of relief. He looked calm, but a glint of viciousness flashed in his eyes. I wonder what's going on Earth right now. We should go back and have a look. Mars used to be a base built by Zhao Xueqing to defend against Tianmu's divine general. But when the Beidou monsters arrived, it was the first place to bear the brunt. The cultivators on Earth and the Beidou monsters fought there, turning it into an extraterrestrial battlefield. After that, the cultivation world on Earth was defeated and the Beidou monsters used it as a base to attack Earth. But after Hanming Zongzi and the Alliance of Justice arrived, not only did they wipe out the Beidou monsters on Earth, but also the monsters on Mars. This place was already in ruins. In fact, Jiang Tian's real enemy wasn't the Beidou monsters at all. It was the alliance of justice that took root on Earth as a savior and gradually grew stronger, worshipped and supported by Earth's civilization. We've been delayed for too long. Honey, let's go back. I wonder how Tianqing School is doing now. Zhao Xueqing also revealed a worried expression and seemed to be impatient. Well, let's go back to Earth. Jiang Tian rolled up his sleeves and disappeared with Zhao Xueqing, the black-haired dog and Cheng Lulu. Only Han Shenxi, Qin Shiferi and Yuan Jiankong were left, looking at each other in silence. I'm afraid Han Ming Zongzi is in big trouble this time. Yeah, this Taichu Divine Lord is very powerful and his Dharma power is powerful. He's ruthless and resolute. He's definitely not someone easy to deal with. Many cultivators shook their heads and smiled wryly. Han Shenxi's face was extremely pale, as if he was suffering from constipation. Let's just say that Divine Emperor Scorpio self-detonated at the critical moment and perished together with the 5 Divine Emperors, including Astral Fire and Green Mist? What if he asks me to take out the Dharma artifact to see the battle images or search my divine soul? That would be a disaster. Okay. He really didn't know how to report to Han Ming Zongzi about hunting down Divine Lord Tian Scorpion. Han Ming Zongzi was naturally suspicious and cunning like a ghost and a fox. He was not so easy to fool. At this moment, Han Shenxi wanted to scratch his head and come up with a foolproof plan. At that moment, Fairy Chen she mustered her courage and said softly, Shenxi, a gentleman doesn't stand under a collapsing wall and a fine bird chooses a good tree to perch on. In my opinion, this leader of the Taichu Alliance has great power, great ambition, and great ambition. I'm afraid he'll be as successful as Han Ming Shenxi in the future and control more than 1 or 2 planet regions. The fruit of the great path is found in danger. The point is, Han Ming Zongzi isn't a good person. Yuan Jiankong looked resentful, as if his idol had collapsed. In the cultivation realm, there were too many cultivators who were smart enough to defeat demons. Han Ming Zongzi was a typical example. Usually he seemed to be detached from the world, calm and collected, like a bodhisattva or a Buddha, an immortal or a divine being. He said things like fighting for justice, for the vicissitudes of life, and protecting the weak civilizations. But in fact, he was the one behind the interstellar war. He was just doing it for his own benefit, to expand his territory and to fight for cultivation resources. I understand. Han Shenxi's eyes glittered. That was the wisdom brought by 1,000 years of life experience. All of a sudden, a resolute look flashed across his face. He gritted his teeth, waved his hand and said coldly, send a message to Han Ming Zongzi. Tell him that Sir God Tian Scorpion self-detonated and perished together with Gang Hua and the other Sir Gods. We'll go to Earth and follow the Taichu Alliance Master. A few hours later, the unsetting sun was like a meteorite shooting into the sky, tearing through the thin atmosphere of Mars and rushing out of the sky. Then, it entered the deep starry sky and the vast sea of stars. Its target was Earth. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.